Boston. From the Town Fair Tire Studios, home of the Celtics, Bruins, Revs, and Patriots.
Left side, touchdown Patriots.
Boston's home for sports is 98.5 The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Jerron Mayo, speaking with the media on Monday, said that everything is on the table regarding playing time in the season finale against the Bills, which will be 1 o'clock on Sunday at Gillette Stadium. With a loss, the Patriots will lock up the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. As for the Bills, Josh Allen will reportedly start the game to keep his consecutive start streak alive and then be removed from the game soon thereafter. Last night, Monday Night Football, the Lions outlasted the 49ers. Jared Goff, 3 touchdown passes for Detroit. 40-34 was the final. The Lions will be the 1 seed in the NFC with a win on Sunday against the Vikings. The Bruins will visit the Washington Capitals this afternoon with puck drop set for 12:30, while the Celtics will be back in action at TD Garden later after the Bruins when they host the Toronto Raptors. That'll be a 3 o'clock tip, and you can hear the Bruins and the Celtics, both teams, both games, right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The Celtics, just a note, just 7-6 in the month of December. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update, 30 minutes.
When sports news breaks in Boston,
Officially from the Boston Bruins.
it breaks here.
Boston Bruins general manager Don Sweeney announced today, November 19th, the team has relieved Jim Montgomery of his duties as head coach.
For the latest updates
Associate coach Joe Sacco will assume interim head coaching duties.
and the analysis,
To me, this isn't enough. I think they got to shake up the locker room.
stay right here.
We'll see how this goes.
Boston's home for breaking sports news. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fred, hello. 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 Mm-hmm. Hello. Hello. Hello.
He's naked. He has a sword.
Open it up with a football.
98.5.
Bruins are back from the West Coast. Coast.
Cocaine and hookers. Yes. Na 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 na.
Is it okay to use this for the radio?
Welcome to the show, you sweet bitch.
Good morning, everybody. Toucher and Hardy. Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan in for the guys this morning. Andrew, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mark.
We are on YouTube from the Town Fair Tire Studios, 617-779-0985. Happy New Year, all. New Year's Eve. I don't want to call it an overrated holiday, but I don't, we'll put it this way, Andrew, I don't generate a lot of momentum on New Year's Eve. So take that for what you will. I don't do it well. I just haven't had great New Year's in my history. I've tried, especially since getting married. They just don't happen for me. I guess my take on New Year's, and again, not to be negative, maybe this is a me problem. I feel like it peaked when you were in middle school. You know what I mean? Because in middle school, you're not, at least me, I wasn't up till midnight all the time. So on New Year's Eve, I had this friend, Dougie, who used to have this party. His parents let him have this party, and we would stay up if he 1, 2 a.m. And in middle school, you never did that. And that's the biggest memory I have of New Year's Eve, those wild middle school parties at Dougie's. So I haven't done it as well as I've gotten older.
Honestly, I think that's the most common experience we have. Like, I think it's just getting older. I think getting older is realizing that socks are actually a good gift, and New Year's Eve kind of sucks. Like, that's what getting older is. And look, I could extend my favorite probably to high school, so not too far behind you and
high
Dougie.
School, whatever, sure.
Right. But it's the allure of staying up till midnight. You know, you're drinking in college, but you're drinking a fair number of nights, staying up late anyway in college.
Right.
And then after that, it's like you got to do something big. Like, I've done New Year's in New York, Boston, obviously, done the house party thing, been out in San Diego. The best times are like, it doesn't matter where I am. It's just the company you keep, which is kind of like every other day, which negates the holiday feel to it.
Yeah.
So I'd say run that by most people you see today. See what the response is. I bet most people say, oh, same.
You're probably right. And you're definitely right on the socks thing. I mean, my mother-in-law gets me socks every year.
Same.
And the good ones, I mean, I treasure them. That's like ridiculous to say out loud. But that's the way it goes. Actually, Speaking of Dougie, I don't know why Dougie's come up today. He actually got married a few years back on New Year's Eve at Gillette Stadium. So that was one of the better New Year's Eves we've had because it was a party that was like laid out there for you.
Big Jets fan, huh?
No, it was. I actually.
Wait, so you must have gone.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So you'll appreciate this, and it's sad because this man is no longer with us. But you know how like Cameo and all those things are a thing now. This is before any of that existed. Yep. This guy, I somehow tracked down. Do you remember David Patton?
Oh yeah.
Okay. This guy Dougie was we were both big David Patton fans. I tracked down David Patton, and he did like a video shout out for Dougie and his bride on their wedding. It was awesome. Like he had his daughter with him. I don't know how it happened, but his wife sent me the video. David Patton shouting out Dougie and Christina. So that was fun.
Wait, let's stay with that for a second because it's a great pull. And R.I.P. David Patton.
Yes,
it's funny. How many bad cameos have you seen?
I've seen a lot of bad ones.
It's not quite to the level of the failed proposal in the ballpark or in the arena.
Yeah, but
the bad ones really stay with you. Like there's I don't remember the singer. I'm gonna need to find this right in the next segment. He wishes, you get the cameo request. Oh, please wish my so and so a happy, birthday or it's Merry Christmas, whatever. This one happened to be Hanukkah.
Yep.
He wished the man a happy Chanukah.
Oh,
this one goes viral for everyone on the outside. But if you're getting that, you're like a little cringy. And to the point of getting one for your friend. Got married a couple of years ago. Wonderful wedding gift from someone who went to UConn. I went to UConn. My wife went to UConn from Jim Calhoun.
Oh,
so
no.
You'd think we'd be absolutely thrilled, and we were. And that was the best 48 hours of my life. Watching Jim Calhoun stumble through this cameo, like he's down 30 to UNH, all due respect.
Yeah.
Was just like, I wanted it to end before it was over because he clearly reading from a script. He's got like his eye around the corner from the camera. And I still love that man. It was just something to experience with my soon-to-be wife being like, Jim Calhoun's wishing us a happy wedding day, and I wish he would stop.
That's too bad. I wish. Does Dan Hurley do cameos? I feel like he'd be awesome. Awesome doing a cameo. Just act mad, but say something nice.
Or get one for your kid, right? Like, you don't have to take it from me to clean your room. Here's Dan Hurley ripping you a new one for 30 seconds. That's a cameo I want from Dan Hurley. So, I don't think so, though.
One of my other good friends has 3 boys, and I just think the juxtaposition would be beautiful if I have this fantasy of doing one with LeVar Ball, getting a cameo from LeVar Ball. 3 boys, let him talk about that. I don't know. We'll see if he's not that expensive. He's like $150 or something. Do you have any wild New Year's Eve happenings or stories from your past? Any that went off the rails?
No, nothing that really went off the rails. The New York City one I had done years ago, and it was with a girlfriend at the time, some of her friends, and one of the friends that was there had recently been cheated on, and I knew this, so it was like handing me. Not quite like a truth bomb or grenade, but it was like, hey, don't let this go off, but you got to keep it with you the whole night as you continue to drink. So that ruined the whole experience for me. I'll just say I didn't quite make it to midnight and leave it at that night, but it was just like why would you tell me that? We're about to go out. I don't really know this guy, except for this is the one fact I know. Like, how do I bring up anything else and not think of this as we sit with her friends and, things were found out later, but did not enjoy that New Year's.
So that's an interesting that you brought that up because there was one I was covering. I think it was the Music City Bowl in Nashville. It was around New Year's Eve. I forget if it was New Year's Eve itself, but it was around New Year's Eve. We're in Nashville, and it was me and the sports guy that I was working with in Mississippi and the meteorologist who I was working with in Mississippi. She was there with her boyfriend. She had gone to Mississippi State. She was there. And I just met this guy. We're in the bar. We're all out there, we're drinking, and I kind of take a second to just like, I don't know, come out of the game. So I put my drink on the table. I'm talking to the boyfriend of this girl that I know. And we're going back and forth. We're talking. We're looking over where the girl is. She's talking to another guy, his girlfriend. He looks at me. I look at him. We look back at the girl. And just when we both look back at the girl, we both see her kiss this guy, random guy.
No.
And I don't even know this guy very well. So he looks back at me. I look back at him. I have no idea what to say. So I just go, well, that's an issue. And he just jets out of there, and they get into this huge fight. And that was a crazy.
What time of night?
I mean, it wasn't that late. It must have been like 1 a.m.
Okay, but at least after New Year's. Oh,
Yeah. The night was like
midnight.
over.
Okay,
I mean, we had been out. It's
You
not like
can
it was
go
the
home.
beginning
Yeah.
of the night. So I just did that. I left. That was
Yeah,
it. Like
smart.
I'm not that connected to these people. I got to go. So that was a funny thing. And then a couple years ago, my wife and I were at home. You know how it goes. Like I have some big ideas. I'm thinking like we're gonna get the kids to bed and we're gonna have a drink, do this, and it's gonna be a big night and then we had like a gummy. I fell asleep. I was tripping. Like, I don't know what happened. I was just a messed up. Wake up, and Cyndi Lauper is on my TV, completely effing with my mind. Like go back 2020, Cyndi Lauper, New Year's Eve. It was the weirdest performance I had ever seen.
You sure this wasn't a cameo?
No, this was a weird New Year's Eve performance. I could not. It was so weird. I didn't comprehend what was happening. But I'm tripping. I had never used whatever this was. I'm watching Cyndi Lauper. It's 9:30. It's not even late on New Year's Eve. I was asleep. I wake up. Absolute mess. So that's my disaster. I've had a few unfortunately boring New Year's Eves. And
Did your wife get you to bed? Like, how did that night end?
yeah.
Okay,
She eventually went. That was it. Like I woke up and she was there and we just went to bed and nothing, it wasn't very
So
fun.
it's not the same between you and Cindy anymore.
No.
It's like a little awkward. Not
Yeah.
quite kissing Cindy while your wife is in the house.
No,
But-
I've actually looked her up and she's got some actual songs.
Yeah.
But this was a disaster. I don't know why you did this. Like, why would they put her out there? She was older. And then there was this DJ behind her trying to get hyped, and it just looked weird. It was crazy.
I just looked it up. This is New Year. That's New Year's Eve 2021.
Was that what it was? Yeah, 20. I think it was 20 going into 21.
2021.
And it was just, she sounded awful. Like, not professional, not a singer. So
That also sounds exactly what New Year's Eve 2020 was. Everyone's like, this year sucked. Get it the hell out of here. And we have to sit at home. So, of course, doing something big at the time was have a gummy at home with my wife. I could stay indoors.
That was big.
Yeah,
so,
that was big.
I just feel like it's anytime you can get together with people, I'm for it. But just staying up late into the night, the juice is gone.
Can I give you a couple cameos? Because
Yeah.
once you mentioned that, I was like, I want to see how much.
Yeah.
Who's
I
still
found
on this? How
the
much they cost?
Chinooka one, by the way, too.
Oh,
Yes,
who
who
was
was
it?
it?
I saw that
Yes.
recently. I definitely saw it
Hilarious
recently.
clip.
Is it Smokey Robinson?
Smokey Robinson,
yeah.
yes.
Is that who it
Hey,
is?
Marco, how
Yeah.
you doing? Surprise, surprise. This is Smokey Robinson. I know you didn't expect to hear from me. But anyway, and they wanted me to wish you happy Chinooka. I have no idea what Chinooka is, but happy Chinooka. Anyway, God bless you, babe, and enjoy Chinooka.
God bless you, babe. See, look, we all know what cameo is. We know it's impersonal. You just got a name. You're reading from a script. Just fake it a little bit better. That was my point about the guy. Was when he's like, I guess your son's asked me to do this. Like, that's a pared down clip of what Smokey Robinson said. And you got the meat. Thank you for doing that. But when you miss, it's excellent to us. I just would have loved to have seen the first person to hear that for the first time, the intended recipient. Anyway, guess Manny Ramirez is on here.
No way.
If we want to raise, we got 4 hours, $224, get a little message from Manny Ramirez within the next 24 hours. Any guess? You remember Sean Stellato, Tommy DeVito's agent?
Yeah.
Salem, Mass native.
Yeah.
He's on Cameo. Probably the cheapest guy on
The
here. Any
agent?
guess? Yeah, the agent.
Wow.
DeVito, by the way, is about his biggest client for what it's worth. Any guess how much he's asking for?
I'll say $50.
75.
Wow.
Last one. And we can go back and forth because I've been more intrigued by this than maybe I should be. Tyreek Hill.
Really?
Yeah. Any guess?
Tyreek Hill's probably more. $175.
If you got a cool grand on you, you can get
What?
a message from Tyreek
For
Hill.
Tyreek Hill?
Yes.
The cheetah.
Bobby Valentine on here, but we'll save that for the break.
All right, I got to look at these. It's been a while. I used to do that. I used to go through them and look at examples or whatever. I haven't done that in a while. Speaking of Smokey Robinson, back in the day when I was at WPRI in Providence, they used to do this fundraiser. I don't think they still do it, but it was Jeffrey Osborne, On the Wings of Love.
Oh, yeah.
You know that song. He's from Rhode Island. Boys with Magic Johnson and Magic and Smokey would come back for like a charity softball game and golf outing. Let me tell you some of the stories they told, like about Magic back in the 80s, like going around doing things. Like, it was, what a time for
God
those
bless you,
men to be
babe.
alive, the things they were doing out there. And Magic would do favors for Jeffrey, and Jeffrey would do favors for Magic, and they'd be partying. It was good. Sounded good. I wouldn't know.
Thank you, Smokey.
Jeez. Yeah, have you ever actually converted on like sending a cameo to anybody?
Yeah, I did one. You ever watch? Boy, all names are escaping me this morning. It's a Netflix show that I used to watch with a couple of my roommates who I ended up marrying, and more recently, Kim's Convenience.
No.
So it's actually a CBC show, Canadian show, and it revolves around this Korean guy who runs a convenience store. His family, daughter's like a high teenager, like early 20s, and he's just like the most stubborn, hilarious, like dad. Mm-hmm. And it's very like PG-13 show. So anyway, set that cameo, and it went wonderfully. This guy did the character as you would want it, and then takes his glasses off. He was also in Rogue One, Star Wars movie, and then speaks to the camera as an actor with some super heartfelt message about marriage and like how long he's been married and what really got them through and yada yada. The best cameo. Really lucked out.
So look, obviously Jim Calhoun isn't an actor, but like you said, embrace it a little bit. Try to put a little bit. If somebody's paying for that, don't just half-ass it, read off a script, look away, look back. I mean, that's disappointing. Even though it's still cool that Jim Calhoun, big UConn guy. Did you say your wife's from UConn too, or no?
She went to UConn,
UConn.
From Connecticut.
UConn.
I grew up right on campus, Storrs, Connecticut, repping actually my high school, Yo Smith, for the folks on YouTube. Go Panthers.
There you go. All right, 617-779-0985. Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan in Toucher and Hardy. When we get back, some New Year's Eve themed content. We'll talk Patriots as well, 617-779-0985. It's Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Surprise, surprise. This is Smokey Robinson.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
My name is Renee.
This is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, the Sports Hub.
Did you catch a game last night?
All right, back here, Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Let's take a quick call, Andrew, before we get into what happened last night, just because Mark wants to talk about Vegas and New Year's Eve. Hey, Mark, in Medford, how are you?
Hey, good morning, guys, and Happy New Year to both of you.
Happy New Year.
So, yeah, I agree with you on the New Year's Eve stuff. It's stale now. It's old because we're older. And, you know, back in the 90s, I had moved to Vegas with my parents, and I was well out of high school already. And that kind of rejuvenated my New Year's Eve celebrations because Vegas, they have a freaking ball over there.
I can imagine, and thanks for the call, Mark. I can imagine. I've never been to Vegas during New Year's Eve. But, I mean, Vegas, yeah, I would think they would have some things to do, and you could find some entertainment.
Yeah, probably throw Miami in there. I am curious, like, in that age range. I love how he starts like, oh, back in the 90s. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, you're GD right back in the 90s, even though I was oldest I got was 10. I wonder, though, like, not the trouble you could get into, but what you could find as, like, a 20-year-old kid at that time in Vegas. No cell phones. Like, how far do you go? Obviously, you know, it's open carry. No one cares that much. Or open container, I should say. Probably open carry, too. I don't know. I'm going to be thinking about that call from Mark for a bit, but I'm glad he's with it. I think it's just getting older. That's all that happens.
That's it. That's a simple explanation. It's accurate. What happened last night? Brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates. Where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happened. So change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lopresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. What happened last night, Andrew? Not much, other than Monday Night Football, where one of the best teams in the NFL was on display. Any takeaways from that Lions win?
I just think moving forward, the Lions. By the way, why didn't we have me do the read about the hair?
I guess that could have been. We could have done that.
Do you want me to sit here and have to look
I was under the impression that you
Mark,
were.
Read that?
We'll try to sell something else. Maybe we can get something going with sales.
I was under the impression that it was your choice to be bald. You shaved, the sexy look.
I got enough ahead of it.
Okay.
Like there comes a time for all of us in the bald camp. You got to commit to the bic.
Yeah.
You know, and but you're on your own timeline. I committed during 2020. What else did I have to do? So, but it was evident. Anyway, last night the Lions. Okay. Look, I think I'm like a lot of people. I'm rooting for this team.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just the fan base and the sad sack nature of the franchise. Like they've built this quote unquote the right way. They play well on both sides of the ball. Super talented, super fun, creative. But if they're going to win games in the playoffs, they're going to look exactly like they did last night. 40-34, up and down the field. They are so banged up, Mark, on defense, that if you are doing any kind of wagering, it's going to be over with the Lions, over on their opponents. Like Aaron Glenn's good defensive coordinator. He's a head coaching candidate coming up. This back half of the season is not going to be in his resume, though, given the numbers that they're allowing.
It's a shame because the defense, I mean, you had one of the best, I don't know if it's the best, one of the best defensive linemen in the league, but to have one of your top defenders get hurt for the year stings, especially for a team like you said. I'm rooting for, a lot of people are rooting for. They haven't been to the Lions in the Super Bowl would be such a trip. Just to think about that would be so, I've seen them lose so many Thanksgiving Day games. I mean, it could happen. Now, I think Philly, a lot of people think maybe they have the edge. They're a little healthier. They're playing well. But I'll be rooting for the Lions. And if they can protect Jared Goff, I think they're going to have a chance.
You know what, too, though? This sets up, I think, the most anticipated season finale of my lifetime until we get a call in 5 minutes that reminds me of a Patriots game I forgot not too long ago.
Yeah.
Lions-Vikings is for the number one seed in the AFC. And I say most anticipated because unlike back in the 90s with our caller, when everything was great, nothing was wrong, there were two buys, right? Top two seeds in the AFC, top two seeds in the NFC. You get to take the first week off. Once you lock in, you're done. Not so anymore, as we know. Only the number one seed gets that bye. So not only is it a divisional game for Minnesota and Detroit, you've got that at stake. And honestly, you think about what that does, not only just from a rest standpoint, but you just get to advance to the next round. Like, that is a more meaningful edge that it's ever been, and especially for teams like the Lions who are this banged up.
Do you like the one bye better? Is that a better format?
No. I just like we were talking about. We got old. Things during my day were better.
Yeah.
And look, I'm only 33.
Okay.
So maybe I'm getting a little too old too fast. But no, I honestly like the 16-game season better. I like 6 teams in the playoffs on either side.
Yeah.
I think there should be a reward for being number 2 in the conference as opposed to, hey, you got to play a wild card weekend and play 3 games to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm with you. Definitely on the 16 games. I don't hate the one team getting the bye thing. I'm not for an extra team. Usually I don't like expansion of the playoffs that brings in worse teams. Typically, this year, I do think that both the conferences have a pretty good group of teams that excite me. Like, I don't really see any dog playoff games. The only one that I'm not all that interested in, and it's not even locked in yet, would be the Steelers and Texans, just because I don't think either team can beat a good team, a good playoff team. So that game is kind of me. I'm hoping the Chargers end up in the 4-5 game because I like to see them go to Kansas City. But that's another conversation we could have. One thing that we were going to get to today, with it being New Year's Eve, I like what you put on the table about just thinking a little bit outside the box in New Year's Eve and what would make – well, why don't you explain it, Andrew? What would make a good New Year's Eve party amongst some of the best that ever came through Boston as far as athletes?
So here's the deal. You and I both have established New Year's Eve wanes. Kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So you get older. But we're not just complainers here on the Hub, Mark and I. We have solutions for you. Here's what we're doing throughout the show today. We're building out the best Boston sports New Year's Eve party you can think of, okay? And what you need to do listening is to think who you might want to have at this party. And let me set the backdrop here, because New Year's Eve doesn't have to suck this year. Everyone's getting an invite. We're pulling them in. I'm talking about athletes, coaches, executives. I'm talking about media members, past and present. So here's the deal for this best Boston sports New Year's Eve party. Wick Grossbeck is obviously hosting. He's the only owner right now with a Boston sports team who's spending big money. He's going big in this bash.
Let's go.
The Gronk brothers, all of the Gronk brothers are bouncers. Understandable. Except Rob, because Rob is going to be in the corner of this giant house, this giant party that we're having, playing Never Have I Ever with anyone who wants to hang out with him. You are going to lose, but you're going to drink, and you're going to have fun. The 04 Red Sox, Mark, of course they're there. Special place in your heart, special place in mine. Kev Millar, just as he was at the start of that comeback against the Yankees, passing around shots to Jack Daniels. And who is up on the stage with those cornrows that may or may not pass in today's society? Of course, it's the one and only Bronson Arroyo. And next to him is Peter Gammons, jamming on the guitar. So we could have Pin the Tail and the Kyrie down in the basement. But I want you to help us build out this party. The best Boston sports New Year's Eve party. We're at Wick Grossbeck's. The Gronk brothers are all bouncers. Rob is playing in the corner, Never Have I Ever. You know, we could have a game of darts between Brady and Drake Bay if you want. Again, Pin the Tail and the Kyrie. The 04 Red Sox are hanging around. So who are you inviting? Please call in. What are they doing and what are they bringing? But you don't get admitted at the door because Mark and I are with the Gronk brothers, bouncing people who want to come in. Like, all due respect, you know, guys going way back. Like Jeff Fry wants to show up. Sorry. It's not happening.
With respect to Jeff Fry, do we have any type of dress code requirement? Is it a white party? I mean, we're in charge of the guest list, but I didn't know if we had anything else.
I think we'll go semi-formal.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Yeah, because I have one name that will have to be on the list, so we'll get to him in a little bit. Let's get another call. Jay is in the car. Hey, Jay, good morning.
So you didn't even mention, like, the number, the second seed bye doesn't even matter when it comes to that game on Sunday. Loser gets a road game.
Yeah,
and they would get a road game either way.
Tough game, probably in Los Angeles or somewhere like that. I mean,
that's the shame part. I mean, Detroit was has been collectively the class of the NFC all season, and now they might get a road game for the first round of the playoffs, which is insane to think about it like that. Like, that's the tough part.
Yeah, but you know what, though? Even with the 2 buys, wouldn't it be the same situation?
The division winners get rewarded.
Division winners. They wouldn't be the division winner. I mean, the Vikings are having a good year, too. A great year.
The sneakiest 2-loss team in the history of the NFL, if you ask me. Like, people didn't even realize it going into the game this past weekend. Like, holy crap, they have 2 losses only. Like, people did not realize that.
I'm with Jay on that. And you know what they remind me of? And this is disrespectful. I shouldn't say this. But do you remember a few years ago? I don't even remember what year it was. 2015. It was before Mahomes. The Chiefs went into their bye at 9-0. Yet they were not even – like, I didn't think of them whatsoever as any type of contender. but they went into the bye at 9-0. That's sort of been the Vikings all year. Like Jay just said, 14-2, and I don't even think about them. I don't think about them. I think about I think about the Bengals more than I think about the Vikings.
They're
but
legit,
they're nasty.
They are. And it's not even just Brian Flores, old pal Brian Flores. It's Sam Darnold has been so much better under pressure. And look, obviously it helps throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. TJ Hawkinson's back, and that's made a huge difference for them. But this is one of the best coached teams in the entire league. Like, I would hold up the Vikings. Granted, again, there's a giant talent difference. But you can make a case the Patriots have the better quarterback, but they're so far worse coached.
Yeah.
And you look at penalties. You look at scoring differential in the first quarter. How well is our game plan working versus theirs? How juiced up are the guys? And we've even heard from Patriots players, hey, when we don't really start well, Jonathan Jones is just like, well, that's it for us. We don't really have the momentum, the guts to try to come back. And again, the starting point for the Vikings, who had an over-under 6.5, by the way, once the season started.
Yeah. Sam Darnold.
They're resilient, they're exceptionally well coached, they're creative, and they're making it all work with Sam freaking Darnold at the helm. I'm in. I would not be upset to see them in the Super Bowl, but that wasn't true until a couple of days ago when they really took it to Green Bay. Give credit to the Packers for coming back, but we all know who had control of that game.
I'm not buying it for the record, Andrew. I don't think they're going to get to the Super Bowl. I think they're going to flame out. They might have a nice little win, but I don't think they're going to get there. I don't believe in Sam Darnold. He'll have to prove it.
You know what, though? It might come down to Sunday, right? If they're at
sure.
home.
Oh, yeah. And they're
not?
legit. They've been tested, and that's one of the best divisions, the best division in football. If they find a way to win that game and get into the 1 seed and do it going through that division, Packers, Lions, doing it the way they did it, you got to take them seriously. 617-779-0985. We'll get a headlines. We'll get right back to you. More New Year's Eve. I've got somebody that's definitely on the guest list for this party. We'll talk about that and other New Year's Eve end-of-year type thoughts. Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan, Toucher, and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Gerard Mayo, speaking with the media on Monday, said that everything is on the table regarding playing time in the season finale against the Bills, which will be at 1 o'clock on Sunday at Gillette Stadium. With a loss, the Patriots will lock up the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. As for Buffalo, Josh Allen will reportedly start the game to keep his consecutive start streak alive and then be removed from the game soon thereafter. Last night, the Lions outlasted the 49ers 40-34 on Monday Night Football. 3 touchdown passes for Jared Goff. Detroit will be the 1 seed in the NFC with a win on Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. The Bruins will visit the Washington Capitals this afternoon with puck drop set for 12:30. And the Celtics, they'll be back on the court at TD Garden later this afternoon when they host the Toronto Raptors. That'll be a 3 o'clock tip. You can hear both the Celtics and the Bruins right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Celtics are just 7-6 in the month of December. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Valvoline. Enjoy quick and convenient vehicle maintenance this month. Visit NewEnglandOilChange.com for 15% off your drive-thru oil change at Valvoline Instant Oil Change. Now open in Raynham, Reading, and Braintree. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update, 7 a.m.
More Toucher and Hardy on the way. matter where you go, you're always connected to Boston sports with the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Download it wherever you get your apps today.
It's called rising and grinding.
Start your
Got
day.
your finger on the pulse, Fred. Seldom right and never wrong.
Right here. Is that toucher or is that target?
I know, looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
Here in his history as, I guess, a good time, and that would be one Mike Napoli. Has to be on the list.
Great
he
call.
has to be there. He has connections. Well,
he's shirtless.
Shirtless.
Right?
That's why the dress code might go against it, but I don't care. We'll find a way to get him in. We'll make it work.
Yeah, and you know what? And again, we're expanding this. We've got athletes, we got coaches, you got executives. Like, I thought long and hard last night, Mark, about what to do with Belichick, who's not going to want to come to the party. But congrats, that's not up to him. Wick Grousbeck has brought everyone that we're talking about, anyone people call in with. Who's your guest? What do they bring? What are they doing? And, yeah, Mike Napoli's such a great ad. I mean, it's funny that the guy, played a full season of baseball, won a World Series, but the image that's seared into your mind that comes to mind first is him shirtless walking down Boylston, was just absolutely wasted after that win. Because God bless him. That's exactly what we should all be doing after winning a World Series.
That's correct. A man of the people, and acting the way you'd think, you'd want to act after winning a championship, and the way that he contributed to that championship, too. He was a huge figure. They probably don't win it without him. He was awesome that year. Not to the level of a character that Gronk was.
Well, no one is.
No one is. But we've since found out that he had, let's just say, a very active social life while here in Boston, and he was dating some people, and that person he was dating has gone on to bigger and, I want to say better things, but bigger things.
Yeah, Mark, you're doing great.
Yeah, right. So we just Mike Napoli is absolutely on the list. I do have some other names that we'll get to that I would axe immediately. They would go home. They would send them home. Those are names that you can call with, too. 617-779-0985. Your football calls are welcome
one more
as well.
by you.
Yeah.
Cards Against Humanity. You ever played it?
Sure.
Okay. So people don't know, it's apples to apples, but you're talking rated R, NC-17 stuff. I want the most wholesome Boston athletes and coaches we've ever had playing that in one room.
Okay.
I love Matthew Slater. I would love to see the look on Matthew Slater's face as he's pulling up. Oh God, I can't look at this card. Next card. Just pulls it up. Doesn't know what to do with himself. Derek White, I think, would be up there.
Yes.
There's certainly some Red Sox. I'm omitting the nicest guys possible to ever play in Boston, ever coach in Boston, to work in Boston. You got to play the game.
Can we get some media members in on that game too? Some of the kindest, nicest media members, or are they not allowed?
Are we thinking of the same guy? Look, I bring him up whenever I'm on the hub too much anyway, and you talked to him yesterday. Mike Reese would just be absolutely mortified playing that game. Dan Roach, who's definitely listening.
Two of the nicest
Happy New Year's
guys.
Eve.
Happy New Year's Eve.
I thought I would enjoy my life as I get older. I hate it.
I can't believe he said that.
You're going to hate it more.
I love it. I don't care who knows it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's this party is getting more and more
Who's
interesting.
bartending?
That's a great
question. This is another tough one. Because you would think, here's one. Let me run it by you. Rajon Rondo. You're talking about creativity. He would know the full cocktail menu.
Sort of a
He's
distributor.
distributing.
Yeah.
Right? That's the guy you need to go to when you need the ball, when you need something, what you want that night.
Yeah. I mean, you have to find a spot for Terry Francona somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
I just think, the old man in the, I don't know, the jokes that he would have a comment or a story about anything or anyone, one-liners or something like that.
How about story time, him and Bob Ryan just going back and forth?
That'd be great. That'd be a great combination.
If you just want to hang out, you want to sip something, Matthew Slater needs to to shake it off, recover from the Cards Against Humanity, just sit and listen to Bob Ryan tell you about the 60s and 70s Celtics. Terry Francona's in there. Whatever he's going to do with the Reds this year, obviously 04. I mean, he's there because Terry's there with the 04 Sox.
Okay, so
we're all walking around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark is in Waltham. Good morning, Mark.
Hey, I would like to be a mediator between Dan Shaughnessy and Dan Roach at this party. I feel like that could be a fun time.
That would be interesting. Get a real negative guy, and especially on the Red Sox, and get the most positive guy you could think of. Get him lubed up a little bit.
Let's make this an APD in here today.
And see
all
where it
positive
goes.
day.
There it is. See where it goes.
So Shaughnessy obviously has a shirt, and I barely know Dan, but I know the phrase, don't go full Roachy. He's got to wear a T-shirt with that on it, right? He's got a blazer over the T-shirt. He's walking around the party. Kevin Millar obviously keeps feeding him shots like what I tell you. But I like that. Yeah, I think Mark can come.
Okay. When we get back, we have to take a quick break. When we get back, I want to actually real quick. Frank is in Marshfield with a party invite. We want to get him in. Hey, Frank.
Hey, yeah, I can't wait for this. Party sounds great. I got two guys. Bill Lee's going to bring the brownies, and Bob Kraft maybe can bring the girls from the Orchids of Asia just to.
Okay, so that's a low blow, but we need the girls, so that's I guess something you have to consider.
No, Bill Lee can come in.
Okay,
Bob Kraft's going away, and this is why you and I
not those girls, but I thought we would need some girls at some point, or is this just a fest?
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. All right. But Billy, come on in. Robert, sorry. As put to us by the call.
Correct.
Maybe Robert brings something else. You want to bring the Lombardies around. Different conversation.
There would definitely be. I feel like Robert Kraft has hosted a lot of parties. I feel like he could add some good value depending on what he would be thinking about bringing. You know, he's hosted a lot of ring ceremonies.
But Frank knew what he was doing with that call.
Yeah, he did.
He's got a smile on.
Okay. When we get back, I want to do bigger deal, smaller deal. Okay. If you don't know what this game is about, I want to play with Andrew, and the theme of this one will be Tom Brady plays, and this was out of respect to the great. It was very sad to see the passing of. Was it Greg Gumbel that died?
Yes.
Very sad because his voice was part of the soundtrack to some of the biggest games the Patriots ever played.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I sort of thought of this. And my signature Tom Brady play, the one that my favorite Tom Brady play, was a game that he called. And that's going to be the one that we go off of for this game. So we're going to do that next with Andrew Callahan of the Boston Herald, Mark Dondero, Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
listen, if you've got to go, we understand, but make sure you bring the Sports Hub app with you so you can hear more of Toucher and Hardy.
That's what I want on my tombstone.
On the Sports Hub.
This is to advance to the AFC Championship game. The Patriots win it 16-13 in overtime.
All right, back here, Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan. This hour of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. That was the late, great Greg Gumbel on the call of Patriots, Raiders, Snow Bowl. It was ridiculously long ago, but still one of the greatest nights in the history of Boston sports, and that is at the center of the game that we play, that I like to play, called Bigger Deal, Smaller Deal. If you don't know how to play, what happens is you pick a specific subject, you put it on the pedestal, and then you ask whether or not everything else on your list is a bigger deal or smaller deal. Andrew, my favorite Tom Brady play ever, and we did this with Rochi and Mike Reese the other day. My favorite Tom Brady play ever was the scramble in the snow, the touchdown. He spikes the ball.
Yeah.
Like, you remember that play? I just love the play. It was like, not his coming out party. I just love the play, the elements, the magnitude, the energy and emotion, all of the above. That's my signature Tom Brady play. So that is the play that we're basing today's game off of. Bigger deal, smaller deal. Tom Brady's Snow Bowl run. Okay.
Now, let me ask you, because this is the first time I'm playing. Is this bigger in like the zeitgeist? Like, this is a better play in my opinion, or my personal feelings towards this play? I like it better.
It could be your personal feelings towards the play. It could be both, whatever you think. If it's so big, if I have it wrong, I mean, I'm not really, I'll chime in too. But just based on national perception, your own feelings, all of the above you can consider. So is the Snow Bowl run from Tom Brady a bigger deal or smaller deal than Tom Brady's pass to Brandon LaFell at the end of the divisional game in 2014 against the Ravens?
It's a bigger deal, though. It's amazing you said that, because I'm thinking, what's my favorite Tom Brady play? And that was one of the first throws that came to mind.
Really?
I landed somewhere different. And it's not only just that play was a part of a larger game that is one of the greatest ever played in NFL playoff history. In a time they start to rev up and restart the dynasty, it was just a pinpoint freaking beautiful throw.
It was. When I think about that game, even to this day, and we're talking about 10 years later almost now, I will never forget the sinking feeling I had watching, who was it? Justin Forsett run the ball early. They could not, the line of the Patriots was getting mauled. They could not stop that little man for whatever it was worth. And it was just, they went down 2 scores. They battle back. They go down 2 scores again. It was an unbelievable game. That was an unbelievable throw. But I go with the Snow Bowl run, just because scoring was at a premium in that game, and that was the touchdown that they needed to get back.
Well, it's also foundational, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're asking what's the most important part of my house, okay, I might love my man cave upstairs or even in the basement. The concrete below it, a little more important to starting everything else that's upholding what in this case was the greatest dynasty ever seen.
I've said that if there was ever, or maybe did they build the Tom Brady statue yet? Or are they building that or whatever? It's coming.
12 feet.
That's the play.
By the way,
spiking the ball. That's
we are
what I would
soaked in dripping in nostalgia today, and I have no qualms with it. We started out like New Year's Eve better back in our day. I said Jeff Fry. Dropped the Jeff Fry reference last segment.
All are welcome. Jeff Fry.
Yeah.
I love Jeff. We can have him on the show if he wants to come on. All right, Tom Brady's Snow Bowl run. Bigger deal or smaller deal than the Tom Brady throw to Deion Branch in the 2005 AFC Championship game in Pittsburgh, the deep touchdown pass?
Snow Bowl run's a bigger deal.
Snow Bowl run, bigger deal.
That was a blowout, too.
It was a blowout. However, you had lost to the Steelers earlier in the season. You were, I think, an underdog again on the road. You're reestablishing your greatness. That throw was awesome in the moment. That was awesome. All right, Snow Bowl run from Tom Brady or Brady to Moss, Week 17 at the Giants, the record setter.
I'm going with the record setter. And you go, well, they lost in the Super Bowl. Nothing matters. No. A perfect season, regular season, matters, even if we're in Titletown, USA here. Not to mention the individual greatness of that capture. 50 touchdown pass is a national moment.
I think that's an iconic moment.
Yeah.
It stands the test of time. I personally, I know a lot of people don't like to talk about it. I still hold that undefeated season up in, like, I put it up in lights. That was a big deal. That's something that stays on the resume. I know they didn't win the Super Bowl, but to go undefeated and to cap it off essentially like that was huge. That's on the list. Moss is an all-time great. That's a little bit bigger deal. Tom Brady's snowball run, bigger deal, smaller deal than the Tom Brady to Troy Brown pass on the final drive of Super Bowl 36. The big play on that drive.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, so Jermaine Wiggy got that last completion, a little button hook.
The last
go
one,
up and
yes.
spike.
The one,
but this was the longest one.
Yes,
it was
like
Brady
J.R.
to
Brown.
Redmond,
He
3
gets out of
yards,
bounds.
J.R. Redmond, 4 yards.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. That's bigger. It's a Super Bowl. It really crossed you into field goal territory just on the fringes. That's the bigger one that set up. Again, you talk about the foundational dynasty. That's a bigger piece of the concrete here than the Snow Bowl scramble.
Correct answer. That's the first time in my life when I said, "Oh bleep, they're going to do it." Yeah. Like it's happening. Like when he made that, when he backpedaled and made that throw, and then Brown gets out of bounds, it's like it's going to happen. It's going to, especially after Vinatieri made the kick in the snow. A couple more. Tom Brady's snowball run, bigger deal, smaller deal than the Tom Brady run on Brian Urlacher when he juked him out.
Oh, snowball run's a bigger deal, and I that's one of my favorite Brady memories, non-playoff category. Belichick brought that up to Brady not too long ago. I think they were talking about his favorite Brady plays.
Yeah,
and it's a great moment, but come on.
No, it was a cool moment,
yeah,
but just didn't have the magnitude. But, I mean, some people really like that moment. Tom Brady's snowball run, bigger deal, smaller deal than Brady to Rob Gronkowski on 3rd and long in overtime of the AFC Championship game in Kansas City. Couple 3rd and long conversions on that drive.
Yeah, and that was Eric Berry down the sideline.
Correct.
Is in there in Kansas City. That's a tough one. I think I'm going to go with that throw because what that whole game was about was not yet. We're not passing the baton to you. Not just in the AFC, but from a dynasty standpoint, we're still here. We've got it. We're not done yet. And that was pressure-packed, two of the greatest players to ever do it on the road, toughest environment in the NFL. I'm going with that play.
I think you have to go with that play because the snowball run, I don't think that was a 4th down. They could have still theoretically probably scored. I'd have to go back and look. This play, I mean, you knew at that point if Kansas City got the ball, they were probably going to win the game with the way they were playing at that point in the game. To convert a third and long on a tough play like that with Eric Berry draped all over him, that was a huge moment in what was the waning, moments, the year of the dynasty. Okay, 2 more. Tom Brady snowball run or Tom Brady overtime throw in Miami, 2003 to Brown.
That's what I thought you were going with the first Troy Brown throw.
Okay.
Overtime. Snowball run. I think that one lives in New England lore because they stink in Miami, but otherwise it's a regular season game versus the last game at Foxborough Stadium and an all-time NFL playoff game.
Agreed. Last one, Tom Brady snowball run or Tom Brady to Julian Edelman on 3rd and 14 in the 4th quarter of Super Bowl 49.
Going with the snowball run. Like it was part of a larger drive, comeback against the Seahawks. That's the best of the Patriots Super Bowls, in my opinion, one of the best ever played. But there was still a lot that had to happen after, and we all know.
I'll go with 3rd and 14. I just was sure. I mean, I was negative about it, but when LeGarrette Blount got stopped, I think it was a 3rd and 1 to start the 4th. And then the clock ticked down, and that put them into the 4th quarter down 10. They punted to start the quarter. It's like, it's over. They're not going to be able to have enough time to come back and stop them enough to come back. To find a way on 3rd and 14 over the middle, Legion of Boom to convert. That was just balls, and that was a great play.
What about this one?
Yeah.
Perkins!
Great play.
That's your quarterback! Who left the building? Unicorns! Show ponies! Where's the beef?
I got to ask Zoe about the call. That call is
legendary.
One of the best calls of all time.
That's his first year, too. Or first year with Bob.
Yeah.
2013. Yeah, That's my favorite Brady throw, by the way.
Really?
Yeah. Just
the
separate
throw
from the game situations, the throw itself, pinpoint, a lesser receiver, all due respect, Kenbrell Tompkins, and just the moment, everything about it was just gorgeous.
No business connecting on that pass. I mean, that was he was covered. You had to have perfect timing, perfect spot where he threw that. I mean, and to win the game like that on Rob Ryan. I still remember Rob Ryan's face. All right. That was bigger deal, smaller deal. Thanks for indulging me there, Andrew.
You got it.
Game's good.
That's fun.
Okay, When we get back, we'll get back into the Patriots and what's going on with the team. Gerard Mayo speaking, what's going to happen in Week 18, all the above. 617-779-0985. No commercials here. We're going to get a headlines. We'll be right back. Toucher and Hardy. Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
WBC-FM and HD Boston.
Patriots!
From the opening kickoff to the final play.
Touchdown!
Your home of the pass.
Yes.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Gerard Mayo speaking with the media on Monday, saying that everything is on the table regarding playing time in the season finale against the Bills. He was specifically referring to the quarterbacks. That game will be at 1 o'clock on Sunday at Gillette Stadium. With a loss, the Patriots will lock up the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. As for the Bills, Josh Allen will reportedly start the game to keep his consecutive start streak alive and then be removed from the game soon thereafter. Last night, the Lions outlasted the 49ers 40-34 on Monday Night Football. 3 touchdown passes for Jared Goff. The Lions will be the 1 seed in the NFC with a win on Sunday night against the Minnesota Vikings. The Bruins will visit the Washington Capitals this afternoon with the puck drop set for 12:30, while the Celtics, they're back on the court at TD Garden. A little later this afternoon, 3 o'clock, they're going to host the Toronto Raptors. Celtics are just 7-6 in the month of December. You can hear both games on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you or are powered by Oakers Technologies, delivering the attention of a local team with the scale to be your single source IT partner. Happy New Year from Oakers Technologies, proud partner of your New England Patriots. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update around 7:30.
New England plays here.
Ball down the right side. There's a separation. Touchdown pass. Perfect dive from Drake May.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
Is elongating.
Weekday mornings.
Here goes Hardy.
Toucher and Hardy.
I no longer love things.
Let's go. Let's ride.
98.5
Let's roll the dice.
The Sports Hub.
I know, obviously, you want to go out this year with a win, but any thoughts to not playing Drake May this week, given the injury risk and given his style of play and everything?
I would say right now, like everything is, in consideration, and we'll see how the week goes.
Serenade us. Going out to break and coming back. I would love Bob and Zoe to call what we obviously have in one room is a beer pong tournament.
Yeah.
And Bob's doing the play-by-play. I think Zoe would have terrific analysis. We actually did this when I was in college, all under pseudonyms, recorded on the radio in somebody's basement, allegedly. 2009 spring weekend at UConn, allegedly. And we, being play-by-play guys in college radio, set up, had the whole tournament. You're all picking who you might be. It could be Brady versus Oprah. And that's what we did. And it was beverage ball toss later at the night. So I would like to simulate that with Zoe and Bob calling the beer pong tournament at this greatest Boston New Year's Eve party. Who did we just welcome in? It wasn't Bob Kraft, but Bill Lee came in, suggested. We've got some guy separating Dan Shaughnessy and Dan Roach.
Yep.
The Gronkowski brothers, the Bouncers. Rob's playing Never Have I Ever. Matthew Slater, Derek White have to play with you. Cards Against Humanity. Bronson Arroyo playing. Kevin Millar's walking around with shots of Dak Daniels. Terry Francona's in there. Mike Napoli. Your guy.
He's doing everything. He's all of the above. He's involved in everything. One guy that's not on the list, if he shows up at the door, he's going home. Even to this day, I'm sorry, is David Price. I can't allow that level of sourpuss into the New Year's Eve party. And I know he brought he ultimately performed in the playoffs and won the World Series. I can't allow him in the party based on the history. And that brings me to another name that will be at this party. Dennis Eckersley. Yeah. Absolutely at this party. We'll figure out a role. I don't know what room he's in. He's at the party. Doesn't have to be drinking, but he's at the party.
He's just walking around being himself.
Yeah.
Just bringing a smile. Like one of the rare people whose voice, the game starts, they could be down 2-0. Just kind of brings a levity and delights you in a way. Like hearing his voice. And then it pains me that I don't remember the names of home runs that he would call. But they're synonyms that make no sense. Like, you got dinger, long ball, bomb, whatever's going on. He's like, oh, there goes a kazoo.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, what?
The cheese, the salads, whatever he's talking about in terms of your hair or the fastball, or I don't remember.
Yeah.
But he would have commentary for everything. I mean, I just think he's a delight to talk to. You're never not happy to run into Dennis Eckersley. So it's what you're looking for in a party that you're hosting.
Yeah.
Only the people you want to be around.
Oh, he got smoked.
Let's put him at cornhole.
Yeah.
How about that?
Love it.
Gerard Mayo allowed into your New Year's Eve party?
No.
Yeah,
Too much negativity. Nobody wants that.
It's
no.
Well,
He's
look,
a nice man. He's super nice, but I can't have that level of no.
It's just tough. Not right now.
Not now.
You go. Not right now.
No, he's not. He's not performing well enough. I need and no offense, and I don't mean that, like, as a personal attack. He's not really known for being Mr. Fun. I'm not saying he's not, but that's not really his MO. Gronk, that's not, if he was Mr. Fun, maybe we could figure it out. But
well, he was earlier in the year with us in the media, and I think with certain teammates, it just ended up getting him in trouble. And like I said before, you can't have bad football on the field and suck in the press conferences. You can do one or the other. If it's good football and you're bad with the media, which again is speaking to fans, that's all that I'm there for. Then it's like, oh, it's just Gerard being Gerard, Manny being Manny. If you have great press conferences and the team sucks, well, then you get the benefit of the doubt with a little bit of crap on the side.
Hour one of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Look, in terms of what's going on with the Patriots, where are you at on Week 18 and how they handle that? What do you want them to do?
This is fascinating to me because there are a lot of elements, a lot of people involved, and the number one overall pick is in hand with the loss. What I want them to do is start Joe Milton at quarterback, and not in the way that I lost my mind a couple of months ago on television saying, I don't want to see Drake May behind this offensive line. Please start Joe Milton. It's in their best interest as a franchise to get the number one overall pick. And I don't want to hear about, oh, there's not that many blue chip talents. The quarterbacks aren't that great. That all might be true, but also there's no way you at home have done full deep dives into this draft because you probably have a job. And if you don't, there's a lot more fun stuff to do than watch all 22 of college football film. Okay? But with that number one overall pick, you have a bounty of assets waiting in a deal if you just get two bidders from the teams behind you. The Titans need a quarterback. The Raiders need a quarterback, and they're a desperate franchise. The Browns might be in the mix. Giants, obviously. So you think about what a win potentially would mean against Bills backups. And Josh Allen's going to start, and then he's going to sit, and they've done this the last 4 years. What would a win mean to you on Sunday versus a future first-round pick, another second or third-round pick this year, to fill all of the holes in this roster? So I want to see them sit guys, and it sounds like, at least according to Gerard Mayo, runs counter to comments from Elliott Wolf gave to me in September. They're thinking about sitting guys.
They should. I like your plan, and that's what they should do. There is no upside to playing Drake May in this game, and I just feel like that's not in the organization's best interest. Now, the only thing I would say, and this isn't about tanking, but the only thing I would say is the one thing that Gerard Mayo, I feel like, has done well, like, I guess kind of okay this year, maybe, is build up some sort of rapport with the players. Okay, now you would know better than me. You're down there. I feel like that's one thing he's done okay at. Would that be getting put at risk if they don't play Drake May, if they appear to be, not tanking, but not going all out in this game? I don't know the answer to that, but even with the answer to that being maybe, I still feel like putting May out there is not in the best interest of the team.
So I think what you're talking about is, could it affect the culture?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's
whatever the culture is.
What the culture is the habits, your attitudes, and your relationships in the building. And so if you do strain those relationships, you're straining the culture. What I would say is that the season's over on Sunday, right? Like, a lot of these guys are not going to come back. That's something that I know has been on the minds of certain veterans that I've talked to. Like, the team now is not going to be the same team next year, 2 years from now, in like a big, grand way. They flipped over 40% of the roster from last season going into this year, and it might be a higher percentage going into next season. So I don't really care at this point. And the culture is also not going to be patched up because it's been close to broken for most of the year, in my opinion, with the things that you hear. Comments from players, obviously the play in the field, and some contradictions from Mayo himself. I'm not that concerned here at the end. Like, the season's over, everyone's going to go home, and some of you are going to stay there and never come back.
So if they, so you're saying if some guy one of the players gets a little put off by what happened in week 18, whatever. It's not going to make a big deal. It's not going to be a big game changer.
We can sit down.
Yeah.
And I'll say, look, we're doing what's in the best interest of the team. And right now, the best interest of the team is to play young players who, frankly, either by injury or they just haven't earned the opportunity. Javon Baker, Jalen Polk, Caden Wallace, Marcellus Dial, their 6th-round corner. We're going to play them, okay? And you might take that as you're trying to lose. If it happens, it happens. But we need to see them on the football field if we know how we're going to do this moving forward. You've had your shot. You've played. This is week 18. It's not week 9. This is what we're doing.
It just feels like there's no upside. If there was an upside, or if maybe if a few weeks ago they started to build a little momentum and play a little bit better. I'd want them to end on a high note. I don't know. They wouldn't have the number 1 overall pick if they were doing that. So that would be another thing.
The interesting part is because, Mayo, is we just played from the break, and I'll read the quote again, when asked, hey, have you given any thought to not playing Drake May this week given the injury risk and his style of play, which isn't to say like, oh, you're just going to sit him in the name of tanking. His answer was, quote, I would say right now everything is in consideration, and we'll see how the week goes. He later said, we're, quote, 100% focused on beating the Bills. And I mentioned a comment Elliot Wolf gave me back in September, right before the season started, and I said, hey, what are your thoughts on tanking? Which you can say is intentionally losing, or, as I just described it, without a lot of people knowing, we're just going to play the kids, knowing that's going to lessen our chances of winning. Here's what he said, quote, I think tanking cheats the game. We would never get in a situation where we think that's the right way to go. That's not what the NFL is all about. That's not what pro football is all about. And that's not what we're going to be about. Well, Mark, it's in their best interest right now to tank Sunday in a real big way. Will they do it against Bills backups, who are still favored by 2 points, by the way? I don't know, but I'm fascinated to find out, in addition to what this game sounds like and looks like in the stands.
Are you burning on anything in terms of what the Patriots should do with that number 1 overall pick? I know there's a lot of time to talk about that, but off the top, what do you, just because maybe you never know, after this week they might not have that pick.
Yeah, I would say, to steal Gerard's intro to a lot of answers, and I reserve the right to change my mind to again steal from Gerard.
It's great.
Right now I'm trade down.
Yeah.
You have too many needs. There's not a clear player even at the top. And you go, oh, well, give me Travis Hunter. He's great. I don't know if he can play 2 ways in the NFL.
Right.
And right now, if it's a corner or receiver, I look at offensive line as a bigger need. And the fact that you could still technically get 2 first-round talents and picks if you move back to, say, 8. You're going to accrue extra picks next year. And whether you use them in trades for players like veteran receivers who are only going to come here, they're not going to sign here, or you use it in a trade to get back into the first round, more ammo, more assets. That's what I want to do right now as of December 31st.
I need them to get a player. If I'm under the impression the player signs off on it, if I know Travis Hunter is going to be a wide receiver, I would draft him. Now, with that being said, I would try to move down and still get that, sort of what Danny Ainge did with Jason Tatum. He basically, I guess he knew that what the Sixers were going to do. He knew through back channels. He knew what the Lakers were going to do, and then he eventually goes up or he goes down and still gets his guy. If the Patriots could do something like that, I'm all for it, because I need them to draft a player and just, you know what, Andrew? I need them to build up momentum as drafters. That they're not going to get anywhere if they can't draft and if they can't convert on some of these high picks in the draft. So I don't want them to go down too far. I know it's great to build, get the assets back and help the 2026 draft class or whatever, and I'm for that. But you have to prove you can draft. You have to see one go through the net, and I need them to do that. And if it's a wide receiver, that's a position of need too. Even if the tackles maybe aren't to the level of the number 1 or number 2 pick. I mean, you got to pick somebody that is going to hit just to get off the schneid. So I'm okay with a trade down, but it can't be that far down.
Yeah, and you could go back to 3 or 4. Like you talked Tatum. Yeah. That he was the 3rd overall pick. And so for the Patriots, again, you're in that range with the Giants, Titans, Raiders will be closer to 8 or 9 or 10, but then you might be talking about multiple first-round picks into the future, which, again, you don't look as, oh, this is just a pick, the GM gets to go, oh, look, so smart. No, this is a real tangible thing you can then flip, again, for a veteran receiver, an offensive tackle, because there are no teams in the draft this year, Mark, that have multiple first-round picks. Mm-hmm. Like, these are going to be valuable assets. Now, in the future, you need more of those things in a way that you would love to have done at the trade deadline. Look, Patriots are not going to flip any picks at the trade deadline. They didn't have veterans to sell off. Josh Uche, who's been a healthy scratch in Kansas City almost ever since, was the best thing they could sell off. You need more things to trade and exchange so you can get this rebuild going.
I feel like Zdeno Chara needs to be at this party in some way, shape, or form. He needs to be there. I don't know how you would, we have the bouncers taken care of, so I don't think he would need to do that. But maybe it's like you said about a bartender. I could. This is going to sound funny. I could see Zdeno Chara sort of like delivering people hors d'oeuvres or offering people something that he baked. I don't know. But he needs to be at the party just because I feel like he's a good combination of nice but business. And I think you need somebody like a grown up in the room kind of thing.
Yeah.
If things get a little too crazy, people feel Z's presence. I think I need that guy here.
Yeah.
At the party. 617-779-0985. Party suggestions are welcome. Anything on the Patriots and their draft is welcome. We'll do some New Year's Eve stuff, end of year stuff as well. Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan, Toucher and Hardy at 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub. Fred, what's it like to work with Hardy and Wallace?
What a golden ticket I've gotten.
There you have it. Toucher and Hardy resumes on the Sports Hub.
Paul Pierce. Did you already mention Paul Pierce?
So Paul Pierce, as we all know, 3.5 years ago, a very famous Instagram Live. Shortly thereafter, did not, let's say, invited back to ESPN. And I'm not holding that against Paul, but that Instagram Live has me thinking Paul might be doing his own thing upstairs.
Okay.
At our New Year's Eve party. And if he wants to shut the door and keep it shut, it's fine by me.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. He doesn't have to be front and center, but I feel like he needs to be there. If we're constructing a true New Year's Eve party, he's a man that gets down hard, and we need to get him. We need to at least give him the benefit of the doubt. And again, this is where Zdeno Chara might come in and just knock on the door and say, "Hey, Paul, just want to make sure we're upright and everything's okay."
Like you talked about, because we had Frank call in and suggest girls, and I was like, it's just gonna happen, Like, and that's fine. And obviously we want plenty of women figures in here too in Boston sports and certainly in media. Like we talk about story time with Bob Ryan and Terry Francona. Like I'd love to hear Jackie Mack spin some tales in that room. You know, like just across
Jackie
the
Mack
board.
playing Papa Shot with some of the Celtics who were there.
Just running the game, running the table.
Dan is in Rhode Island on the Patriots this week. Hey, Dan.
How you doing, Mark? Good to hear you as always. Same to you, friend. Hi, Andrew. Two things real quick. One, is Steven Jackson available this week? We certainly could use him.
Wow.
And the game plan.
Nice pull.
That's the game plan I want to see, though. I hope they dust that off because that's perfect for now. Andrew, you're 100% right that the capital that you get out of this is like getting an extra year's worth of premium picks, right? At least. And I don't want this team picking a wide receiver. DK Metcalf is there waiting to go somewhere next year. I really, really, really want him here. Like in week 2, seeing him stride down the sidelines for a touchdown in a Patriots uniform is, that's a wet dream for me. But I just think that you could do so much with this. But again, I don't want them to pick a wide receiver. But the big problem that I have with this, and I'm sure everyone will talk about, is I don't really want Elliott Wolf to do this with all this capital. That to me is like going to be the real problem. I think they will lose, but moving forward, how they spend the money and use the capital that they hopefully will get, I just have very, very little confidence that Elliott Wolf is the guy to do the right thing. That's it.
Thanks
Take
for the
care,
call,
guys.
Danny. Good to hear from you. I was thinking I looked this up. I couldn't find anything off the top. Has there ever been an executive that's been one and done in the role like the one Elliott Wolf is in?
Not off the top of my head, and to be clear, because Burt Breer had some reporting on this weekend, he feels like Elliott's on pretty firm ground, and frankly, I think he should be. I totally get the frustrations, especially around the Jalen Polk pick, and the Chargers just rub Ladd McConkey, in your face, and 2 touchdowns and everything in your own house. The thing is, GMs miss.
Yeah.
Front offices miss. Happens every year. There's no way to judge a GM properly the same way you could say of a draft class. I think to some degree, in some cases, the same degree as a head coach. And his job this past spring was not to build a team ready to win now. Had that been the directive, instead of offload the bad players, get off of the bad contracts, even to eat $9 million in dead money to cut Juju Smith-Schuster, and then build up with mid-level veteran guys and chase receivers if they want to come here. No one did. He did that. So for firing him for doing his job in a way that's not building a ready-made roster doesn't make sense to me. And it's not unique to Elliott. Like, look, I did a full-on profile of him back in April, spoke to several current GMs, spoke to several former GMs. People around the league have a tremendous amount of respect for this guy. And he also just installed a totally new scouting system. So I get that everyone's mad and frustrated. And that draft class right now doesn't look good. But you even look back, Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson. I'm not saying he picked him, but those are guys that Packers picked, had a terrible start. Adams, second-round pick, right? Slow developers. Now look where they went.
True. I don't know everything about Devontae Adams' start. I do know. Didn't he catch a big third down in the game against the Patriots?
2014. Yeah, here we go.
I don't remember what his year was like, but I remember I was like, who is this guy? He's annoying. And he was a good player in that game.
Because they doubled Jordy Nelson.
Yeah.
And Greg
Jordy
Jennings,
Nelson.
I think, was still on the team. Maybe I'm misremembering that part.
I think Jordy Nelson had to have been on that team.
Yeah.
I forget about Greg Jennings. But, yeah, and they went to him, and he made a big play. Now I forget what I was going to say because I was thinking about the party, and I feel like one guy that would be an absolute force if you're playing beer pong or something like that would be Dustin Pedroia trying to win
at
all costs. I could see him down there, screaming and beating his chest if he wins a game. And
I'm ashamed of us that we took this long, hour and a half into the show to get to Petey.
Yeah.
No, he's a must. He's at the top of the list. Quick recap for the folks who are still new to this, who we have. By the way, actually, Ryan, do you know if Fred and Hardy would even want to go to this or what they would do?
If there's ping pong, yeah, they'd probably want to go.
If there's ping pong?
They're pretty competitive. They're pretty competitive with ping pong. The the pucks and paddles every year.
Oh, yeah.
The Bruins do. They get into that, so I could see them playing ping pong.
We haven't named an MC, and I think there are plenty of athletes who could do this. Well, I'm not talking about.
I think there's been years too where they've even emceed the pucks and paddles event too. So
that'd be right up there. This is a little different. This is a big bash at Wick Grousbeck's house.
Yeah.
Where we have the Gronk brothers are all bouncers except for Rob, who's playing Never Have I Ever in one corner of the house all night. Somewhere upstairs, Paul Pierce is on Instagram Live. We'll leave it at that. 04 Red Sox all walking around, except for Terry Francona, who's in one room. Story time. Bob Ryan, Jackie Mack. You got Pin the Tail and the Kyrie down in the basement. Bob and Zoe broadcasting beer pong in one room where Dustin Pedroia is just running the table. Jackie Mack also on Papa Shot. Rajon Rondo's our bartender. And Cards Against Humanity with the most wholesome people you've cheered for in Boston sports. Matthew Slater, Derek White among them. Just horrified. Every card after every card they pick up and play. And Zdeno Chara, keeper of the peace. We haven't picked who's running karaoke, who's singing karaoke.
Okay. So there's one guy who's in there, and he's all about the karaoke. And now everybody's asking him to tell stories.
Mike Napoli also here.
Mike Napoli's there. Just a rogue. He's a wild card, but he's one of the key central figures. This guy, everybody wants him to tell stories. He refuses because all he wants to do is sing karaoke, and that's Larry Bird. And he wants to go out there, and he wants to sing.
Awesome.
His song is Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley. That's what Larry Bird came to do. He came to sing that song in karaoke. He is not interested in telling trash-talking stories. He's there to sing, and he's there to dominate you. And he's going to sing it, and he's going to get every word right, and then he'll be back to go against somebody else if it's like an 8 Mile situation or whatever. But he's going to be running the mic at karaoke, amongst others, and we can get to them. 617-779-0985.
See, that's exactly what this party bit is about. You just put an image in my head that had never been there before, and it immediately made me laugh and smile.
Yeah.
Like we are cooking with gas at this party.
No doubt.
At Wick Grousbeck's.
The only other thing I just wanted to bring up while we were talking about Elliot Wolf, you mentioned the Jalen Polk thing, and that's been disappointing.
Historically bad.
Really bad. Really, and we talked about yesterday, what was worse, Jalen Polk or N'Keal Harry? And I feel like at least Harry had one game where he had 70-plus yards receiving, and he had sort of, I know this is pathetic, a signature moment when he had that catch that wasn't a catch against the Chiefs. Remember, they called him out, but he was actually inbounds. It was like a nice play. It's too bad they called him out of bounds. I think the Polk thing has been more disappointing, but then with Elliot Wolf, there's also the other side of that for me. It was the Chukwuekorafo thing. That was a disaster.
Offensive line was a disaster plan, and it was the same thing Belichick did the year before with Riley Reif and Calvin Anderson. We'll side these mid-level veteran guys, throw them at the wall with a bunch of rookies and see who sticks.
Yeah.
You cannot treat premium positions like they're just jobs to fill. You need guys to protect your rookie quarterback, and I've said that to people in the organization. I was like, can you just do better than the worst pass protection in the league before you throw Drake May out there? Granted, it's one of my worst takes 2024 because
we got to get to that.
Drake May had me eating crow immediately, and it's never because I didn't believe in a kid.
Yeah.
Like I wanted them to draft him. Go back to February. He's got it. He's it. He's the guy. He will be a success in the NFL. I just didn't want to see him thrown to the Wolves, and lo and behold, he held the Wolves off pretty well because that offensive line has not improved throughout the course of the year.
Can we do that next? You want to do that next?
Yeah.
Worst takes of 2024? Because I had a couple that were bad. One in particular that wasn't just bad, but it depressed me that it didn't turn out the way I thought. So we'll get to that next. Worst takes of 2024. We'll hold ourselves accountable. 617-779-0985 if you want to add a party invite. Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan, Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Gerard Mayo speaking with the media on Monday, saying that everything is on the table regarding playing time for the quarterbacks in the season finale against the Bills, which will be at 1 o'clock on Sunday at Gillette Stadium. With a loss, the Patriots will lock up the number 1 overall pick in this April's NFL draft. As for Buffalo, Josh Allen will reportedly start the game, mainly to keep his consecutive start streak alive, and then he'll be removed from the game soon thereafter. Last night, the Lions outlasted the 49ers 40-34 on Monday Night Football. Jared Goff, 3 touchdown passes. The Lions will be the 1 seed in the NFC playoffs with a win on Sunday Night Football against the Vikings. The Bruins will visit the Washington Capitals this afternoon with the puck drop set for 12:30, while the Celtics will be back on the court at TD Garden 3 o'clock this afternoon, hosting the Toronto Raptors. Celtics just 7-6 in the month of December. You can hear both games, Bruins and Celtics, here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by the Shaw's Star Market Foundation. They've teamed with Trent Frederick for Feeding the Puck for families to help fight food insecurity. Learn how they're assisting the Greater Boston Food Bank at 98.5thesportshub.com/feedthepuck. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update, 8 a.m.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy. plays here.
Through the slot. Close shot. Save. Rebound. Score.
98.5, the Sports Hub.
You said you wanted to hear more music in the morning.
Never had to knock on wood, but I never had it yet.
No, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
It happens every year. I had a bad one. Andrew, what was your worst take of 2024?
So, Mark, I wrote this column last month. Big hit with the fans.
Yeah.
And look, I think we should all be held accountable.
Last month.
Last month.
Yeah.
This was slow time, mid-November. Patriots season obviously kind of going in the tank. I said, look, I can't criticize them week in and week out if I don't own up to my own mistakes. So here we go. My worst take 2024, starting Drake May was short-sighted. I just talked about it in the last break. I said, this is the worst pass protection in the league. I get he's mobile. I know he's smart. He improved at the end of training camp. Don't start him. Sit him the whole season if need be. Ha! Callahan, you clown. My worst take of 2024.
Okay. So mine, easily, was I was emphatic that if the Patriots played Drake May and he was good, which he is good, that they would turn it around. They would start winning. They'd start winning games, and I think to the tune of 1-9 when Drake May has started and finished games from where I sit right now. Not good. Didn't happen. I thought, now, I guess I just misrepresented how long it will take for him to not play well necessarily, but create a culture, create a standard.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to take some time. But I thought that they would be better if Drake May went in there and played better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett, and they haven't been better. And I was emphatic about it. So that was not a good take for this year. That was the worst one, and I was married to it, kind of. I wanted it to be true.
I got a couple more for you.
Yeah.
And this might even be worse than the May take. It's still another rookie. I'm just going to read from the column. Oof. That's what I wrote July 24th. Jalen Polk is the second most talented player in this rookie class behind May. Unlike his quarterback classmate, Polk has a clear path to playing time and played within a sophisticated offense in college that should grease his transition to the pro level. He can play inside and outside the numbers and win at all three levels. It won't come together all at once, but by the end of the year, Jalen Polk will stand alone as the best rookie in this class.
Oh, shit.
Come on, Callahan. 12 catches, 87 yards. He has 2 catches since Halloween. And I empathize with the guy. Like, I do think he's been too hard on himself. Gerard Mayo's referenced the mental health humps, yada, yada. And now he's posting on Instagram he's the most hated. Like, okay, come on. Like, have some sort of self-awareness.
No, come on.
The place he's also on the field for, by the way, when you watch the film, very simple concepts. Like, the stuff they trust him with, and Javon Baker, too, are these all-curl plays on third down. Run up field, get a yard past the third down marker, turn around. That's it right now.
I mean, you were right in terms of him having a clear path to play. He did.
Oh, yeah. He also looked good this summer.
He did. He did look good.
Yeah.
I was high on him, too. I mean, there's no way that I thought he was going to perform this poorly, and that leads me into one of my other poor it wasn't a disaster. Maybe it was a disaster. I don't know, but I said on the air multiple times that I trusted Elliott Wolf. I had bought into Elliott Wolf. I thought it was going to be a good move for them. I thought this draft class was going to yield some results immediately. I thought that one of the 2 linemen they took would be able to play. And now it looks really bad that I trusted Elliott Wolf as much as I did, and I said it so forcefully. I trust Elliott Wolf because it wasn't. I mean, it hasn't happened to.
Do you feel betrayed personally?
No, not personally. These things happen. But I can invite Elliott Wolf to the party. Not now. See, where he's in one of those places where it's just not happening.
You know who would have been at the party? Not anymore. Matt Judon. Good time.
That's right.
We brought up Fred and Hardy like ping pong. Actually, watched him play ping pong and chatted with him a bit at an event last year at it's a bar in the Seaport that opened up, and Pastrnak was there, and they played and yada yada. Super nice guy. My last worst take of the year, I thought he would re-sign. July 21st. Contract issues arise every year in some level for every team. The bet here is Matt Judon gets his raise, especially after suggesting in a recent radio interview he doesn't have the appetite to hold in like he did last summer. Well, that man whined his way out of town, and then a rare W, a big W, when you look at his numbers in Atlanta. Patriots flipped him for a 3rd-round pick. Elliott Wolf did.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
I thought that was going to – I don't know if it hurt them. It was certainly based on the numbers in Atlanta, the right move. I don't know if that hurt the culture of the defense, the leadership, or anything like that.
I mean, he was walking out of practice. Yeah. So I don't think so. And there was something about Matt Judon where he just lost his GD mind when it came to money. And it happened in Baltimore, and calling out reporters. And look, if we get stuff wrong, you have every right to call us out. I don't know if it was in that particular case, but I remember when he arrived, we're like, well, might be a little bit of a challenge on our end. It wasn't. He won Good Guy of the Year from the media when you just fulfill your obligations.
Judon won that award?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I presented it to him.
Oh, you did?
And look, very pleasant, all good. I thought he would re-sign when it comes to contract stuff. And look, it's a man's money. I'm not here to say you shouldn't fight for every last dollar, but when you consider he had just played 3.5 games last year, and he's in the back end of his prime, if not exiting his prime, having already exited his prime, to get that for a third-round pick, it's a great trade.
It's a great trade. Other trades could be made if the Patriots end up with the number 1 overall pick, and I think you have some scenarios that you could throw out that could become reality, possibly, in the event they lock up that number 1 pick.
Yeah, you want to do these now?
Yeah, sure. Let's. Why don't you throw one at me? We'll tease it, and then we'll do it after the break.
So, Pro Football Network has a mock draft simulator. PFF has got one as well. But at Pro Football Network, their mock draft simulator throws some trades at you. So, on the phone, Mark Dondero, the Cleveland Browns. Say, hey, we see you got the number 1 overall pick. Right now, we're scheduled to pick third. Going back 2 spots, would you take our second-round pick, our third-round pick, and a future second-round pick to go from number 1 to number 3?
Yes. Yeah. Only because you're not going that far down.
Right.
I like a first. If they're going to trade down, I like a future first. But if it's the Browns and you can get a second-round pick, I'll be honest with you, Andrew, I don't have a lot of confidence in second-round picks. I just don't. I mean, I know it's like they've had success at cornerback. They've had some bad picks at cornerback in the second round. They've had bad receiver picks in the second round. I'm sure they've had some second-round picks I can't think of that have worked out. I just don't feel it on the second-round picks.
So the receiver curse in drafting, the inability in the second round is still here. Obviously, Bill did not take that with him. I think him drafting for scheme, which is what they were doing to fit the system, something no other team in the league does. So I'm curious when Elliott Wolf and company just draft based on talent. You mentioned N'Keal Harry, though. Is that worse than Jalen Polk? I would counter that because the N'Keal Harry pick not only was bad on its own, you know who went in the second round that year? Deebo Samuel.
Yep.
A.J. Brown. DK Metcalf.
And when did Terry McLaurin go?
Third round.
Okay.
Man, he was a Patriot throughout the whole draft process. Yeah. 2-time captain, special teamer, great 3-cone, and they just blew it. Now we ended on a down note.
This is what I do to make myself feel better. I tell myself that none of those players, especially Metcalf, would have been that good in New England based on the system, and he was raw and different things. That's probably a lie. I'm probably just saying that, but it doesn't feel like that'd be the case.
One more trade.
Yeah.
The Jets are on the phone. Okay? Patriots are picking number 1 overall. They say, hey, we'd like to come up. We know we don't do this often. Here's the deal. We're at 7. You go back 6 spots, and we'll throw in our second-round pick, high second-round pick, 38th overall. Third-round pick at 95th overall. Our fourth-round pick, so our first 4 picks for us to go up 6 spots, and we'll throw in a future second. Is that good enough for you?
I'd probably do it because what I would do is I'd draft Tet McMillan at 7.
There you go.
And then I would take the picks.
Doesn't feel so bad.
No, it's all right. I
feel like I'm reeling you in.
No, you are. I just, when you give me the capital, if I'm going to assume competency and that these guys, Elliott Wolf specifically, is going to be able to hit on some of the picks, if I can still get a player you're probably out on Hunter at 7, but you could get McMillan, who I'm not sure Hunter's going to play receiver. McMillan's a receiver, a big guy. So that's.
And here's the deal. You get those extra picks. Again, I'll say it again. It's not just the potential of those players or what you could do with them with the selection. It's the ammo to make trades. You want to go up to 5. You go, hey, the Jets gave us an extra second-round pick. Can we go up to a team that thought it would get a quarterback, wants to move back? It's just 2 spots. Here's, you know what? You're not going to take our second. You'll have a third. How about that? So in reality, you go back 4 spots if you're the Patriots and you still get a tackle or you're a receiver or whatever it is, and you still, via the Jets, add an extra second-round pick, another second-round pick, and a 4th to go back 4 spots. So it just lets you do more things and move up and down the board as well as potentially acquire veterans.
I just want to make sure that if they have a guy in mind, they get him. And they need to make sure they hit. And I don't know who that guy would be, but they have to make sure that they get that guy. 617-779-0985. This hour of Toucher and Hardy brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan, and 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Toucher.
Dressed like a gorilla.
Half Hardy.
A big, beautiful ball of flame.
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many offers to become an insider.
Sports Hub.
All right, back here at Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan. Happy New Year. A lot to think about in this past year. And one of the things that we wanted to just discuss, biggest surprises, biggest disappointments of 2024. Andrew, any of the above, or all of the above, is in play? Anything that jumps out in terms of disappointments or surprises in the last year?
To me, and it's probably just because I'm in the weeds of this every day, is the disappointment of just how the Patriots season has gone.
Yeah.
And it's not the win-loss record. One of the last things I wrote before training camp opened is go, hey, this could be worse than last year.
Really?
And I wrote in March, hey, Gerard Mayo's going to have growing pains as we go along here. You just thought that there are issues, especially on defense. And you know what? Let's just move it over to defense, right? Mm-hmm. Because that collapse of that unit, fundamentally, like this is the foundation of your house crumbling and everything imploding on top of it, has been so bad. And with Gerard being a defensive coach and that side of the ball always being rock solid, and they lose some talent, whatever, has been the most disappointing thing for me all season I didn't see coming.
That's one of the most and I would put that under surprises. I definitely did not see the drop-off, especially with Gerard Mayo taking over, having been on that side of the ball. The drop-off that we saw from that unit has made me so ornery over the course of this entire...
Friends, my father gave me a panoramic camera, digital camera back in the... I wanted to put on my guest list if possible. I wanted to put KG, I think would be a great bartender. And... of course, PP, but you guys already mentioned him. But also, I would like Tyler Sagan and Marchand right after they won the Cup, hanging out with Napoli in the corner with no shirts on.
I love it. That's a fantasy right there. Thank you so much, Sarah, for the call.
I think she just painted a panoramic word picture with all of that. First of all, if Jeff Fry ever goes missing, I think we have to start with Sarah.
Yeah.
Based on those comments.
Jeff Fry, if I remember right, and I think I posted this video to my Twitter not that long ago, didn't he rob David Ortiz like an epic web gem of a home run at Fenway Park when Ortiz was on the Twins? I think it was Jeff Fry in right field that climbed over the wall, fell into the seats, and robbed David Ortiz of a home run, a skinnier David Ortiz from the Twins back in like 98 or 7.
You got a hell of a memory, and we just keep sounding older as we go. I think we need to back up and reset. And
I don't care.
I know.
Just letting it rip, baby.
It's just amazing. So he might have.
Okay.
I didn't even know when we back up, for people who don't know who Jeff Fry is, aside from being a 58-year-old man, played for the Red Sox for 4 years. Okay, that's it. That's how much airtime this guy is getting in the 90s. Then also played for Texas, Toronto, and Colorado. Played second base, third base, and outfielder. He was not invited to the party to Sarah's dismay. He might have robbed it. I will look that up in the break. Going back to her suggestion as KG as a bartender, I like that because you've got some chemistry with Rondo, the height and the reach.
Oh,
right?
That's a good point.
Because I don't know about you. I'm about 6 feet. When I'm going to the bar, my strategy is always I am going to make unending eye contact with the bartender. And not in a way that's creepy, not in a way that's like, aggressive. It's just you're going to kind of feel it subconsciously. Yeah. And by the time you have a choice of where am I going to go next, I'm going to the guy who I know has been locked in, looking for a drink, and is ready to give me an order. KG, with that height, I don't have to peer over anybody. Like the shorter bartenders, it's harder to make the eye contact. He's going to be right there. His eye contact is probably going to frighten me, but I know he'll get the job done. I love that call by Sarah. KG back behind the bar with Rondo.
I can see him constantly, moving and grooving, swaying to the music back there too, keeping the vibes up. The intensity would be it'd be permeating behind the bar with KG back there. Now I forget what we were talking. Oh, the biggest disappointments. Biggest surprises, let me tell you a few surprises I had. Well, first, the other disappointment I had, the start to the Bruins season, and subsequently the firing of Jim Montgomery. Put that in both categories. I was surprised they ended up firing him, but the start to their season, which wasn't even all that bad, that was a surprise. Some of the biggest surprises, other surprises. The Celtics rode to a championship sort of being as easy as it was. I did not expect that to happen. I thought they'd get a little bit more resistance and they would go 6 or 7 games at least once. Obviously, the Patriots being worse than last year. Did not see that coming. And Belichick to UNC, I did not see coming.
Belichick to UNC probably should have led this list.
Yeah, that was a huge surprise.
I didn't believe it a couple of days before doing TV, and Burt Brewer's like, it's 50-50, and we're talking about it. And I go, okay, so we're going to live in a world where the head coach at Tulane says, no thanks to UNC.
Yeah.
So Belichick's like, I'm coming on board. And the essence of it was, it's not some FU to the NFL. This was, the NFL said, thanks, but no thanks.
Right.
And so Bill wants to coach. Bill goes to coach. Good for him. But, man, there's a stretch early in their schedule next year. Richmond. University of Central Florida. Mm-hmm. And it's killing me that I'm missing one more. But it's
like
somewhere
Charlotte
like the
or
Mid-Atlantic.
something
Yeah,
like that?
Charlotte.
Okay.
That's exactly who it is.
Yeah.
Charlotte, Richmond, UCF.
Can you just imagine visually on the sideline at Charlotte coaching against whatever they are, the Richmond Spiders, coaching against Richmond, the what?
How about losing to them? And granted, nothing I'm rooting for. I have no idea if it's going to go. They need to do a lot of work with that roster, and first years are tough.
Yeah.
College football, and certainly as we've seen in the NFL. But, man, biggest surprise this year, no doubt.
Another surprise, a little bit different. I was not expecting to hear about Giselle getting pregnant this year.
Not on your bingo card?
No, didn't have that. So that was interesting.
What did you expect from Giselle this year?
I wasn't thinking about her too much, but when that came across my desk or whatever you want to call it, my purview, I wasn't expecting that. Tom Brady has been basically what I expected as a broadcaster.
That roast, I'll say, exceeded my expectations.
Oh, there's a good one. That's a good one.
Great roast.
Exceeded, and it was a surprise. And how what was surprising? How many people had starring roles and were funny during that roast. Most notably, one of my favorites was Drew Bledsoe. I thought he was hysterical.
Unbelievable.
It's one of the things I would rewatch from this year.
That man is aging exactly like his family business.
Yeah.
Fine wine.
Oh, just so good.
He's doing national hits now. It's like, oh, Drew. He could come back even without Brady. He celebrated.
He doesn't give an F. Yeah, I mean, I loved what he said earlier about I bet you heard it, about Tony Romo, where he was talking about the comparison between Brady and Romo. I don't even know why it came up, but he was saying that.
Oh, he overlapped with Romo in Dallas, I think.
Right, but I don't know why he was talking about Tony Romo at this juncture. But he was saying how when Brady got the starting job, he continued to ask questions. He was still interested. He was like, when Romo got the starting job, he all of a sudden had all the answers. And it was like, yeah, okay. I just love that. There was a raw take, just a zinger at Tony Romo. Drew, while sipping wine, just didn't care. 617-779-0985. We're going to get a headlines. We're going to be back. What should the Patriots do on Black Monday? How should the Crafts, who really have a lot of work to do, how should they handle the end of the season here, and will they handle it correctly? Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan, Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub. We're going to do a headlines, no commercials. We'll be right back.
WBZ-FM and HD Boston.
Patriots!
From the opening kickoff to the final play.
Touchdown!
Your home of the pass. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group Station. Sports Hub headlines.
Gerard Mayo, speaking with the media on Monday, said that everything is on the table regarding playing time for the quarterbacks in the season finale against the Bills. That'll be on Monday. Check that Sunday, 1 o'clock at Gillette Stadium. With a loss, the Patriots will lock up the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. As for Buffalo, Josh Allen will reportedly start for the Bills, but then he will be removed from the game. They're starting him just so he can keep his consecutive start streak alive. He'll be out of there soon after the kickoff, after he gets a few plays. Last night on Monday Night Football, the Lions outlasted the 49ers 40-34, 3 touchdown passes for Jared Goff. Detroit will be the 1 seed in the NFC with a win on Sunday night against the Minnesota Vikings. The Bruins will visit the Washington Capitals this afternoon with the puck drop set for 12:30. Celtics back in action. They've lost 6 games in December, 7-6 this month. They'll be back on the court at TD Garden this afternoon at 3 when they host the Toronto Raptors. Both the Celtics and Bruins could be heard here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Service Credit Union. They've teamed with Charlie McAvoy again this season for 73 reasons to defend New England's first responders. Visit servicecu.org/73. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update, 8:30 a.m.
Start your day.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Work through your day.
What's that thing we do at the end of the show?
And end your day.
I'm not giving you an opinion. I don't know.
Right here, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
What's the best way to listen to Toucher and Hardy?
Well, you're going to have to spend $40.
Cough it up, and let's get back to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Hey, Gerard. Good morning. With this one game left, have you been given assurance by ownership that you'll return next season?
I'm always in constant communication with ownership and feel like we're still on the same page.
Back here on Toucher and Hardy. That was Mark Daniels of Mass Live bringing the heat there.
Mark can come to the party.
Mark is absolutely invited to the party. Good time. We've partied. His wife can come. They're great people. Listen, obviously he's not going to answer that question straight. I don't not believe him though. Like, I don't think the Crafts have talked to him about that. I don't think they brought it up. Do you?
I'm sure they've had some conversations. And for what it's worth, I don't think speculation one way or another is worth anything.
Sure.
Like, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
But I think at some point when the noise gets this loud, it is in their best interest to certainly assuage them. And we know that they talk after every game. Debrief. Heard it from Gerard.
Okay.
So I do think they've said something, but what it is matters a whole lot more than the fact that whether or not they had a conversation. You know what I mean? Is it just like, hey, we got your back, finish the season? Or is it, I don't care what happens, do your best, you'll be back in 2025. Those are very different things.
So here's my take, Andrew, and you can react to this. And it's sort of developing, but it's not based on people I've talked to or anything like that. But I'm just thinking about what's going to happen. And the thing that the Patriots need to do, okay, and this is just a fact, they have to do this. They have to, in the craft specifically, that's who I'm talking about, they have to prepare, not plan. You plan for things to go well next year. I'm assuming they bring Jerome Mayo back. I don't know what you think. We'll talk about that too. But they have to prepare for things to go poorly to start next season. That could happen, especially if they're thinking we're going to bring Mayo back. If that's the case, you cannot, in order to prepare for that possibility, you can't run it back and just bring back everybody that orchestrated this disaster this year. So I think they're going to end up getting rid of DeMarcus Covington and Alex Van Pelt. I'm not saying they should. They should get rid of Covington. Van Pelt, not necessarily a guy that I would let go of based on his performance, but I think if you want to bring Jerome Mayo back in order to give him a little leeway to start the season, and if it doesn't go well, you have to make a change so he has a little bit of breathing room, or else if you just run it back and it starts as bad as it's ending, I mean, the noise, you talk about the noise, and they've been susceptible to listening to the noise, and I feel like sometimes the noise wins. You're going to have unbearable noise to start. He's going to come in on a white-hot seat. Any mistake is going to be magnified. That is a toxic environment that they should not be in business with, and I think that's why they're going to have to make changes just to give them a little leeway to start next year.
So some change is coming, and I don't say this with some hard reporting. It's just someone who's watched the NFL for so long, and you look at teams that finished 3-14, 4-13. Look, you saw it last year. Greatest head coach of all time was gone after 4-13. You need to shake up the staff. Staff is not good. It's period, point blank. And people have made a lot about Alex Van Pelt being the 12th candidate at a 12 that they interviewed. You had some position coaches that were hired very, very late. And I think when you look at places like receiver and offensive line, it's not just that the talent is bad, because they addressed both of those positions in the draft. And say what you will about Jalen Polk or Kane Wallace, there's talent there, but they're not being developed. And to me, I think that is where it will start. So I'm baking into my expectations some position coaches, certainly at offense, and probably on both sides of the ball, will be gone come Black Monday. I think with that, obviously, you get to the coordinator conversation. And here, I want to make it stress this very clearly. There's a difference between what you and I think will happen and what we would argue should happen, right?
Right.
So starting with what I would bet right now, New Year's Eve, 8:07, I would think that Alex Van Pelt becomes the fall guy, and they bring DeMarcus Covington back.
Oh my
and
gosh,
you would go, this is just what I think.
Yep.
It's not a report, it's not a guarantee, because Covington, unlike Van Pelt, is a first-time coordinator, and you could put the play calling aside. He's also close with Mayo. They share an agent. They came up together. This is the system. And if you were to fire Covington, you would have to go into a very, very small pool of coaches that Mayo not only just knows, but also knows the Patriots system. Because you're not going to run the Patriots defense if Gerard Mayo you're only going to run that defense if Gerard Mayo is your head coach. And then you get to the Mayo conversations we go up. I do think he will be back because ownership has just invested too much.
Yep.
My stance, pivoting now to what I think they should do, is spend this week in the way that you spend all week leading up to a Sunday to prepare and execute a plan for a game. Spend this week back channeling with Mike Vrabel, because that man is a winning NFL head coach with head coaching experience. He's coached at Ohio State and Houston and Tennessee. He had a winning record. He is a unique candidate in the market that he has all of those things going for him. He's unique in that he has a connection here, okay? And what we can say about him right now against Gerard Mayo, he's a better coach. And whatever Gerard becomes the next few years, I think Mike Vrabel will be better. If he says no to you or is unlikely to come, then you need to pivot and move on and find a plan B. And that's what this week is about for them.
So you I just want to make sure I understand. You would be getting rid of Gerard Mayo.
If Mike Vrabel wants to come here and I say we'll match whatever other deal, because you're going to get calls from the Jets and the Saints and the Bears, we're sure, and he can start talking with teams like those that have had coaching vacancies right now. He's done with the Browns. That contract is up according to Adam Schefter.
Yep.
If he can't give me anything than a maybe, then I go to a plan B. Now, is that plan B possibly Brian Flores, whom obviously you'd have to back channel with, and that's more difficult with because of his lawsuit against the league, and they're very hyper aware of this. And then my plan C would be to bring Gerard back and add to the staff, where you need someone, maybe a Patrick Graham, who's the Raiders defensive coordinator, to come in and work with DeMarcus Covington. And people probably hate that plan. But what I would say is this. If you do clean house, and this is something I've described as scratching an itch versus being a solution, congratulations, you just became the Carolina Panthers. 3 head coaches, 3 GMs in 3 years. And who wants to work for the Panthers? Who, granted, good for them, got more out of Bryce Young down the stretch, but you're going to have an issue even hiring coordinators for people to come here and work for Gerard Mayo. Or if you fire him too, why am I going to go to the ownership group that's not spending a ton of money, is way behind in facilities, and that'll fix soon, but just fired Bill Belichick, and then the guy they handpicked years before to succeed him and didn't even give him a year?
Right.
Why am I going to go work for them? So it's a no-win situation the Crafts have painted themselves into.
I can't. That's why I want them to keep Gerard Mayo, and I don't feel great about saying that. I'm not excited about that, but I just feel like I look at the list of one-and-done coaches, and a lot of that is just mired in dysfunction. You just brought up Carolina. You just don't want to be that, especially, like you said, a guy that you had handpicked years ago who was on the staff. He played for you. I mean, everything about the hire said, hey, he should be competent. It's not that he was going to be the best coach in the league, but competent? It's this bad? I would stay with him. I would keep Alex Van Pelt. I would move on. The Covington thing, again, if you keep him, you have to ask your questions surrounding what happens if the defense is awful, putrid, to start the season. That noise, bringing him back after what we saw, and then to have it happen, you're asking for big-time trouble. Jake is in Andover. Hey, Jake.
Hey, guys. So, Mark, you were on with Cerrone yesterday, and I tried calling in, and I couldn't get in because something has crawled up my backside that everyone keeps talking about of all these maybe crap. Number one is, why does everybody keep saying Mayo's this great guy? No one knows him who is saying this. No one went to school with this guy.
He's nice to the media. He's been nice.
Okay, that doesn't mean crap because every coach is different. Every coach is different success, whether a jerk like Belichick or they kiss, the ass of the media.
Well, look, I'm going to push back on both of you because there are members of the media you could know and figure this out, have personal relationships with him, and not in a way, oh, you've been nice to me, but like work together with him when he was briefly in media and knew him as a player.
That's not the point I'm getting to, though. Everyone says, oh, he's a good guy, he's a culture guy. He's this long-term Patriot. People forget he was a very good Patriot for maybe a 3-year time span, and then he was on a championship team that he didn't play for. So he's not a Ty Law, he's not a Will Fork, he's not this legend, right? Number two, he's this business executive CEO type. He left football and became, and this I'm going to say this, as a VP in corporate America, a brown-nosed check mark. He got an SVP of a customer service role at a company within a year of leaving football. I know the person who worked with him. He's an ass kisser. He's literally an ass. And you wonder why do people say, he got somebody? That is how you climb the ladder in America. You have a boss that the bigger boss doesn't like, a.k.a. Bill. You plant seeds on him, and then you constantly peg at them till you get where you need to go.
I'm going to so thanks for the call, Jake. I'm just wondering, this could go back to maybe a criticism on the process that wasn't for the head coach. I mean, maybe that's what you should have gone through, a real process, if that's part of your concern.
Look, I'm going to go back to the playing part because this is the fact-checking reporter in me. Gerard Mayo had 5 great seasons.
Okay.
Among one of the best 5-year starts to any career for a linebacker, 2-time Pro Bowler, 1-time All-Pro, 4-time captain, and yes, he did win his first Super Bowl team when he got injured and played 6 games,
Injuries kind of was the story,
and then 16 in his last one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the start, 128 tackles, 174 in 1 year. Granted, he's not a giant turnover machine.
No.
He was an excellent player in his day. Is that as important now when he's a coach? No. But whatever that guy's experience is, like if you don't think the media knows or anyone knows if Gerard Mayo's a head coach, you're telling me you know based on some second, third-hand information about what happened in a different environment years ago. And he's probably right about how you want to climb the ladder. Yeah, suck up to your bosses. It's not unique in football. And again, I don't say this in defense of Mayo as someone who I just said, if they can get Mike Vrabel, that's an upgrade. Go do it. And that's a big if, giant if. But I would bring him back if you can't do that and you feel out Brian Flores and you go, we need to help him better than we have. And it starts with probably replacing DeMarcus Covington, bringing in more experienced defensive coaches, and figuring out how the hell this broke so badly in a way that no one expected.
How many times have you heard recently him refer to Robert Kraft as Thundercat? Is that going around? Is that
I don't think I've heard that since the introductory press conference, yeah.
Deshaun is in Virginia. Good morning, Deshaun.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
What's up, man?
Good. The thing about it is that I'm very much agree with Sean. Like if Mike Vrabel came up, say you like to coach the Patriots, I would most definitely like to get rid of Gerard Mayo because that can include probably you getting Robert Saleh the defensive coordinator and Josh being your offensive coordinator. So I think and when it comes to the draft, I think they should seek some outside consultant, to try to pick better players instead of people within the organization. Because if you keep allowing them to pick the players, I think they will keep putting this back, setting us back years and years and years. They continue to pick the players.
Okay, so I would say this: the success rate. Look, you don't want to be in this position, but I would say that the success rate of letting a guy get a second year, even if he's had a bad first year, it's not a good thing. Obviously, you don't want to be in that position. But I think that's a little higher than what you do when you become one of those organizations that goes one and done and you just, as Belichick would say, ready, aim, or ready, fire, aim, or whatever it is. Dan Campbell, not a great first year. Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. What was he, 4-12?
Okay, you know what, though? I'm and this isn't your fault because this is the first time I'm hearing this from you. I am sick and tired of hearing anyone related or close to the Patriots bring up Dan Campbell and talk about Gerard Mayo. You know what Dan Campbell did over the last 7 games of his tenure? In that first season, god-awful season, they went 11 games without a win. He finished 3-3-1.
Sure.
Okay? They're on a 6-game losing streak or staring at one for the second time this year. It's not close. And, again, the roster stinks. He's a young head coach. But the point the last caller made about Vrabel, I think, is one that gets understated. And Doug Kite on my podcast, Pat's Interference, laid this out great yesterday. Said Vrabel's network is going to bring up the rest of the coaching staff. Like Gerard Mayo's network extends only in Foxborough, ex-Patriots coaches. And it's great that you could fill in a couple of gaps here, but they were relying on Elliott Wolf, and even then that wasn't good enough because we all see the staff now. If you bring in Mike Vrabel, you are also upgrading almost across your entire coaching staff, not just at the top.
On the surface, I feel like if you just do that, that would make things better. The question is, and I'm not going to be the one to answer it. Obviously, I don't have any say. We'll opine on it. But the question is that worth Mike Vrabel? I think that'd be a better situation. I like Mike Vrabel. He's got a lot of swag, conviction, edge to him. He's won playoff games. He's won games with not the best quarterback in the league. He was an ex-Patriot, all of the above. Is that guy, though, is that coach worth the risk of bringing him in after 1 year of Gerard Mayo, who would then be fired, and what that would mean for your organization and how you'd be painted, in the league? Is that worth the risk, essentially? Because there's no guarantee Mike Vrabel – We both like that better. I think that'd be a better situation, but there's no guarantee he's going to take you to the playoffs next year. We'll see.
So
is it worth the risk?
Any head coaching hire is a long-term bet, right? You're not hired in year one. If you were going to hire a coach for this season, you would have not hired Gerard Mayo, right? This is a long-term proposition. But yeah, it's worth the risk. If people think we're a joke, speaking as the Patriots here, because we moved on from a coach who wasn't ready, which has got to be plainly, clearly evident to the Crafts now, okay? Just not ready this season. It happened. What do you want to do next? That's what matters. For a clear upgrade in Vrabel, and let me say this, as someone who's been arguing for him, I don't think there's a case for Mayo versus Vrabel. He's not God's gift to coaching. He's a conservative in-game manager. Those are things that are open for criticism. But his quarterbacks in Tennessee, to your point, Ryan Tannehill, okay, Will Levis at the end, Malik Willis, and Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
He won the AFC, got a number 1 seed in the AFC, went to an AFC championship game, won Coach of the Year. If and when he gets to New England, Drake May is the best quarterback he's ever worked with, and he is a floor raiser. The fundamentals on defense, fixed. The culture is consistent, and he's done this before. Like that, I'll take, if I'm the Patriots, the 3-4 months, oh my gosh. But if you're being honest with yourselves, we all understand it. And that's why I wrote after that game, it's just, okay, I don't have a case anymore. Because the only case right now for Gerard Mayo is potential. Right now, you have a sure thing in Mike Vrabel, career winning record. If he wants New England over all the other jobs, make it happen.
You could sell me especially if Josh McDaniels or an established offensive coordinator that I wouldn't be worried about going to get a head coaching job somewhere else was a part of the package.
And Vrabel knows how to pick them.
Yeah.
Matt LaFleur.
Right.
Arthur Smith.
That's
his
right.
first 2 offensive coordinators in Tennessee.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. I mean, yeah, and Arthur Smith, not that, it didn't work out in, where was he, Atlanta? But that's an established guy.
He was on the staff when they got the number 1 seed in the AFC that year.
That's right. 617-779-0985. I have another idea for the party. This is a must-have too. So we'll get to that more on the Patriots. And I want to get your take, Andrew, on the NFL MVP. That's sort of been a hot topic, and I just don't feel like it needs to be or should be. So we'll get to all of that. Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan, Toucher and Hardy, 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Thunder.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
With the Schauser Star Market.
Big explosion.
98.5 The Sport.
Yeah, Fry. Remember, he was a lighter hitter. He didn't really hit a lot of home runs.
No, just 4 years with the Sox, but he said 4 hours of airtime this morning. A couple suggestions coming in. Mike from New Report says Bob Kraft should be the DD, and you use your helicopter, always park next to practice fields, to take people home.
Yeah.
Private
See, that's
craft.
what I was thinking. Hey, there's something he could contribute to the party. Look, I kind of become infatuated with the idea of karaoke. Belichick is there singing karaoke. He's singing Born to Run by Bruce. Karaoke, Belichick.
Over Bon Jovi?
Yes.
For him.
I don't want to do
me,
Bon Jovi's
I'm
the obvious pick. He's singing Born to Run by Bruce. And that's not even the biggest one. Wait until later in the night, okay? Kevin Garnett comes out from behind the bar to sing Backstreet Boys, I Want It That Way.
Oh, yes.
KG just
See, we're
hits it.
back. But yeah, and this is still Larry. Like, Larry's running the show.
Larry's,
Talk about Larry Bird.
Larry's just firing off whatever he can because he's competitive about it.
Right. Okay, so let's recap because folks who just woke up and tuned in are going, I think I might still be drunk or drunk ahead of tonight. Here's the deal. We're building out the best possible Boston sports New Year's party. New Year's Eve kind of sucks. It's overrated. This happens when you get old. Mark and I said we don't want to be old today. We want to be problem solvers. So we're throwing the best New Year's Eve party, and by I mean Wick Grossbeck, who's hosting, the only Boston owner spending really right now. He's going to go all out for our bash. Gronk brothers are bouncers, except for Rob, who's playing Never Have I Ever in one corner of the house all night with whomever wants to join him. 04 Sox are running around. Kevin Millar, shots to Jack Daniels. Bronson Arroyo playing guitar on stage. Peter Gammons pinned the tail on Kyrie down in the basement. Bob and Zoe are pals here at the Hub, broadcasting on beer pong.
Zoe has a tank top.
Yes, he does. And you mentioned someone called in Dan Shaughnessy and Dan Roach are hanging around. And but Shaughnessy's got the Don't Go Full Roachy T-shirt underneath the blazer. We've got Rajon Rondo and KG behind the bar. Paul Pierce is upstairs. Doors closed. That's all you need to know. Matthew Slater, Derek White have to play Cards Against Humanity. Those poor, pure souls. Bob Ryan, Terry Francona, Story Hour. Zdeno Chara, just keeper of the peace. You got him walking around.
Yep.
Okay. Bill Lee's there. Mike Napoli is our chosen wild card. Fred and Hardy are playing ping pong by themselves. I think we settled. Maybe emceeing.
Sure.
And Larry Bird on karaoke, where you now have Bill Belichick singing Bruce. And who else did we just put there?
I had Kevin Garnett coming from behind the bar to sing. He's singing Backstreet Boys, which pisses off Bird. Okay, so what Bird does, he comes back on the mic, and he goes with DMX Party Up, Larry Bird karaoke, just to shove it in KG's face. Because he knows KG loves DMX.
I love it. Remind me, since we're talking New Year's, I got a story related to an 80s song, and it's just a terrible New Year's Day for me later in the show.
Yeah.
DJ Tully tweeting at me, @_ Andrew Callahan. Trot Nixon has to be in the backyard, right? Playing in the dirt? 1,000,000%.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know who else is going to be there as a special guest of one of the 04 Red Sox? Somebody knows him. Brian Daubach. He's going to be there smoking a stove.
Yes.
He's ripping darts. He's probably got a little flask, whatever you want to say. He's there, maybe outside, not really talking to anybody, but he's there.
But he's brought like a good bourbon.
Yes.
People who know to seek him out, recognize him, like it pays off.
He's the one he's there putting hair on people's chest.
Yeah, he's got a pappy in the back. You're like, what year is that?
Bill is in Lowell on Elliot Wolf. Hey, Bill.
Hi, how you doing? What role does Elliot Wolf have in the demise of this Patriots team? Didn't he bring all his friends over from Cleveland? And what background does he have? I say get rid of him first. What do you think?
So, first of all, he was in Cleveland. I thought he was in Green Bay. So he was in both. Okay, so I don't see the whole scouting department as Elliot Wolf's family. The Elliot Wolf put it together. I still feel like that call is too premature to take right now because he's had one draft. He did get the quarterback he got the quarterback right. Whether you think he just fell into his lap, that's a different conversation. He got the quarterback. The worst part to me was not just the draft, but some of the free agent signings. And I just think it's too early for a general manager, guy in that position, to be tossed. It's just too soon.
And again, I'll say it on the front end. I totally get the frustration. And I'm someone who was going, hey, you can't handle the offensive line like this. You can't believe in the offensive line like this. And I understand you have to tell the media, we believe in our guys. We feel good about the offensive line. The offseason plan, even if you don't love Jonah Williams or Jermaine or Luminor, there were other options out there, or guys that you could sign or flip, or just keep Caden Wallace at right tackle, position he played all throughout college. Same with Chukes Okorafor. It's great that he did it in college. He left. He is the literal left tackle. Gone. So big mess up there from Elliott Wolf. To your point, though, yes, it's too early. And for the caller who doesn't know about his background, you will find a sparkling, sterling, very well-reported profile of Elliott Wolf at the Boston Herald. If you just Google. Because, again, I talked to more than 20 people about Elliott, his background. The Wikipedia version, he was in Green Bay's front office, which his father, Hall of Fame executive Ron Wolf, used to lead in the 90s, brought the Green Bay back, won that Super Bowl, went to another under Ron Wolf's leadership. He was there from 2004, this is officially, to 2017. 2 years with the Browns as their assistant general manager, comes to the Patriots as a consultant in 2020, director of scouting, 2 seasons, and then gets promoted. This is a guy who doesn't have a background in the Patriots front office, which if you want to know about the demise of the roster, and this is not to pivot from Elliott, it's just to say, look at Bill Belichick's last 10 drafts. Christian Gonzalez is the only first-round pick they hit on starting in 2013. And that's the crude way to measure it. But if you want to go down the list of all the mid-round picks, it's miss after miss after miss. And it's not all Bill's fault. But that's a starting point on where this roster is right now.
The Patriots currently 32 out of 32 in the last 10 years in terms of drafting Pro Bowlers at 3.3%. That's since 2014. They have not drafted. Now, that's not everything.
No, it's not perfect.
And you know what the other thing is, Andrew? See, I'm not even, when you talk about left tackle, for example, I'm uncomfortable leaving your tackle position up to the market. I think that's better if you can address that in the draft, but whatever. I don't even need an all-pro, Penei Sewell or whatever you want to talk about, Trent Williams. I don't need the top-of-the-line Orlando Pace Hall of Famer. I need a guy that can play. I need Nate Solder. Just give me somebody that can play. Matt Light would be ideal.
I mean, Nate Solder, he's a former first-round pick and a guy who, might be in the Patriots Hall of Fame. He was better than average.
No, he was. He was. But I'm saying, did he go to a
gap.
Pro Bowl? I don't know if he went to a Pro Bowl.
Even if he didn't, just do better than this.
Right.
Darian Lowe said this summer, I think I can be a swing tackle in the NFL. That's his expectations for himself. And you come across people all the time that aim low in life, okay? But he's right. Swing tackle is probably where he's best suited. And he's trying his best, and he's shown improvement. They have no starting caliber offensive tackles on a roster. Where you knew you were going to draft a quarterback, you did draft the quarterback. Thank God for you that Drake May is it, and he's a guy, and he's 22, and he's only going to get better and can run for his life. Because that's what he was doing his first month of the season. So I'm with you. Yes, just someone to stop the bleeding at left tackle.
They have to prioritize it. They have to have that happen because next year, I think it was Paul Perillo who said that, they'd like to be knocking on the door of a playoff. Hell yes, you need to be knocking on the door. When you have Drake May, a guy that and I understand that quarterbacks now, they can go up and then they can come back down. We've seen what happened with, and I understand injuries is a part of it, but with C.J. Stroud this year, you sure as hell better be knocking on the door of a playoff spot next year. I understand they got a long way to go as well, but I don't care. You got the quarterback. Figure it out to knock on the door. We're 7-8 or 8-8, 8-9. That can maybe get you to knock on the door. That's all I need you to do for next year. 617-779-0985.
You know who just knocked on the door?
Who's that?
Vince Wilfork. You know what he brought with him?
Of course.
Barbecue. That man is on the grill.
He's on the grill, and he's on the list because he's definitely getting into the party.
Shout out Ryan Villard on Twitter. Great suggestion.
Something else. One of the best dancers at the party as well. So he'll be in there when the dance floor starts to get hot.
Vince? Yeah.
Vince is out there.
Got the overalls, and that's
right.
it. Yeah, my man.
Okay, let's get to headlines. We'll be right back. But first, this hour of Toucher and Hardy brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Headlines, we'll be back here. Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan, Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Gerard Mayo, speaking with the media on Monday, said that everything is on the table regarding playing time with the quarterback position in the season finale against the Bills, which will be at 1 o'clock on Sunday at Gillette Stadium. With a loss, the Patriots will lock up the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. As for the Bills, Josh Allen will reportedly start the game just to keep his consecutive start streak alive and then be removed from the game soon thereafter. Last night on Monday Night Football, the Lions outlasted the 49ers 40-34, 3 touchdown passes for Jared Goff. Detroit will be the 1 seed in the NFC with a win on Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. The Bruins will visit the Washington Capitals this afternoon. Puck drop set for 12:30. Celtics back in action. They're at home at TD Garden. That game will tip at 3 p.m. against the Toronto Raptors. Celtics have lost 6 games in December. They're 7-6 overall in the month. You can hear both the Celtics and the Bruins right here on 98.5, the Sports Hub this afternoon. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Bentley University, where good business begins and leaders come to learn. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports. 98.5 the Sports Hub. Next update, 30 minutes.
More Toucher and Hardy on the way.
12:30.
Boston, the greatest sports town in America.
We have a farm. I have about 200 pigs here.
We got to spill beers on each other without worrying about spilling beers on people.
Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fred describes himself in 7 words.
A guy in tights and a cape.
And Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Toucher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub.
Six 617-779-0985. Happy New Year. With that spirit in mind, who was your MVP of Boston sports in 2024, Andrew? The top dog.
Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown.
Eastern Conference MVP, Finals MVP. It's both are close calls, right? By hair over Jason Tatum. Obviously, you're not picking anyone from the Patriots, no one from the Red Sox. Bruins, same deal. You're looking at the Celtics. The world champion Celtics, as bad as it's been lately, they're great in 2024. They won a title, and Jaylen Brown won MVP. I think he has to be the MVP. I don't even know if there's, you can say close second. Like, Tatum's still the better player. But if you were going, choice ranked here, first, second, third, who are you going second, third?
Before I answer that, I just want to say that should have been one of my surprises, that in a year we had one of the players for the Celtics get onto the first team All-NBA. That player not being the Eastern Conference Final or NBA Finals MVP is mad. Like, we won't see that again for 25 years. Somebody any team that wins the championship in the NBA, if they have a first team NBA guy, they will be either the conference or finals MVP. That's not going to happen again. So that was crazy. The second MVP this year in Boston sports, man, it's not as easy. If you want to go away do I go away from the Celtics?
All right, I'll give you my ballot.
Okay.
Because I think there's a chasm after the top two, and I think it has to be Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum in some kind of order. I'm going with the actual MVP for a fictitious MVP. Third for me, and you could say, oh, this is a Patriot supporter picking a Patriot. Where would we be this season without Drake May? Where will the Patriots be in the next 10 seasons without him? I don't want to know. It might feel a lot like this year. But the whole conversation, the whole hope around this team stems from the fact he's already a league average quarterback.
Yeah.
Playing with the league's worst supporting cast. You nailed it. There was so much content and discussion leading up to the draft. Boom, they take him. Oh, okay, he's going to sit. Then he does sit. Didn't look good at the start of training camp. You can go back. The way he's accelerated his growth, come around, he's already had these big, you would call them Heisman moments if we were in college and they were actually winning. The play at Tennessee, right? All of these long touchdown passes. He is a highlight machine in a team devoid of them. Like that's an MVP.
I would go with number 3 because you got to go with Tatum. He was so good. Even though he didn't get the award, he was so good. I'll go with Jaren Durant. He won the All-Star Game MVP. He had a great year, a year I wasn't expecting. He was fun to watch. All the ground balls up the middle, he turned into doubles. One of the highlights for me for the Red Sox. So that's my number 3. Drake May, you can obviously make the argument for. I love watching him play. I love his attitude. I love everything about the leadership potential that he possesses. It's just a matter of I think he's going to be obviously their most important figure going forward.
And I look at third place for MVP. I think people who have those votes should take them seriously. But when people are like, so-and-so's got to be in the conversation for MVP, cool. You're in the conversation. You're hanging out. You are, as we talk about our party, probably on the outside. Like, you got close to it. But it only really counts if you're in the conversation to win it. So when I talk about a chasm between second and third, like, yes, it's Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and everybody else. But for me, Drake May, what the hope he's inspired, his play, everything, what he's meant to his team, if you want to do MVP should be based on value, that's him. But I like Durant. He's in the conversation as well.
Yeah, I don't know. Is he at the party? I don't know if he's at the party. I don't know if he offers me anything for the party.
We are getting some, I'll just say crap, for not having Marshawn, who I think we discussed a little bit.
The caller brought up Marshawn.
Yeah.
And I'm good with Marshawn.
What's he bringing or doing, though?
He's the one that's stealing the police car when the police show up.
Yes.
That's what he would do. And then if there's, I don't know if I'll tell you what else he's doing. if there's a fight between Dan Shaughnessy and Dan Roach, Marshawn is the one breaking it up. He's the one out there with Z breaking it up.
You know what he's doing, too? Is he's walking around with a Tootsie Pop, licking it, and seeing how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. Just thinking it's some guy's face in the league. Just trying to get to the center there. Long, awkward licks, making eye contact as he walks around. We haven't found a place for Tom Brady, by the way, which I loosely said, you can play darts, cornhole, like things quarterbacks throw accurate. I don't – like, he's cool as hell. He's Tom Brady. He's a legend.
Okay.
I still don't know what to do with him here.
Okay, so the first thing is he'd be one of those guys that you keep hearing about. He's coming. He's supposed to be. He's coming. You're waiting all night for him to show up.
He's an hour or two late, for sure. Yeah.
His role at the party, I don't know. That's a good point. There's nothing, he'd be there. He wouldn't be drinking. He'd be stretching or something in the corner. Like, he'd be doing something that you wouldn't
Hydrating.
think, a party foul.
Yeah.
Hydrating. And making that joke constantly or whatever. I don't know. He'd be making I feel like he'd be making bad jokes about staying hydrated. Or
Alex Guerrero's peddling some fake hangover cure.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, yeah.
He's
you
got
got to
his
take
side.
this. Take this now. You'll be fine tomorrow.
There's got to be a better spot for Tom. We'll continue to think about that. 617-779-0985. The NFL MVP has been a story, too. I want to get into that. The Nick Wright comments we could get into. All of the above still on the board here. You can call for any of it. Happy New Year. Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan. Toucher and Hardy on 98.5, The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on The Sports Hub.
This is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, the Sports Hub.
He has the second best odds right now. I don't care what sportsbook you look at. But it's a lock for me at this point. And I understand it's a narrative award. Voters get tired. He's won it twice. And last year, the MVP race kind of stunk. He won it like by default.
Yeah.
But when you look at the only guy ahead of him by betting odds, and Joe Burrow's had an unbelievable season. Like I know you mentioned the Bengals. Josh Allen's minus 300 right now in DraftKings. When you compare Lamar Jackson's raw stats to Josh Allen's, Lamar has more total touchdowns, passing and running. He has fewer interceptions. He's got more total yards. He's got more passing yards and rushing yards separately. Higher completion percentage. He's been more accurate by more advanced metrics. And most advanced metrics also just favor him, period. Like, to me, I understand people want to give it to Buffalo. Their record is better. But quarterbacks don't drive winning enough, especially when the Bills have a better defense than Baltimore does, to the point that Josh Allen should get the MVP when Lamar, by every individual metric, is either right there with him or appreciably better.
Yeah, see, that's too many stats. I want to talk about the guy whose team I thought was down. And I thought I thought their window was closed for the most part. Buffalo, I thought their window was closed. And Josh Allen this year, with some nice pieces, he's got some pieces around him, but not to the level of the Ravens. I think he's been more important to that team. And again, how do you view the award? Lamar Jackson would probably be my offensive MVP with Joe Burrow. You could argue that. MVP, or I guess it's Offensive Player of the Year. MVP is Josh Allen. I don't know where that team is without him. He's played really well. They've been the only team to beat the Chiefs. The stats aren't as good in ways, but just from a valuable standpoint, it's got to be Allen for me.
Are yards and touchdowns valuable?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's where I'm at. And I get the fatigue around Lamar Jackson, but he's won MVP twice and he's never had a season like this. And you go, okay, forget the historical comparisons. Like Josh Allen is a better offensive line than Lamar Jackson as well.
Okay.
That's also a box in his favor, which, like, I think zooming out, the MVP conversation gets so nutty every single year, especially on the internet, which I don't know if you're familiar with the internet. It's kind of a toxic place at times. Sure. Yeah, I think we all know and have seen it, especially in the Twitter sphere. But the point is, like, as good as Josh Allen's bid, I think if he wins, what this will do is reveal the award for what it has always been, a narrative-driven award. Because the award, and you could do the technical value side, has always been given to the player who has the best season, as you often measure by traditional statistics. We should not just keep in precedence, but, like, to me, Lamar Jackson's had the best season of any player, and that, by extension, also provides value. So he's my guy.
It's a complicated, I guess, rubric, a prerequisite for what it is. I wish there was more clarity. Is it the most valuable player, or is it the best player from a statistical perspective, or is it the best player in general, irregardless of what's around them? I think you need to consider the weapons that a team has in today's NFL. And I know the line is obviously important, but I think that's so vital to team success. We've seen quarterbacks completely drop off when they lose pieces around them. The Bills haven't. I mean, we've seen other quarterbacks not be able to. I mean, look at what Brock Purdy's doing this year. Not that he was an MVP guy, but the Niners are 6-9 or 6-10 now, in a large part because of injuries and guys around them. We saw that with the Texans, a younger quarterback, obviously, not to the level of Josh Allen, but C.J. Stroud wasn't what he was last year, this year, in large part because he had some injuries. And I just think, I know it wasn't injuries. They lost guys. They lost guys on the defense, yet Josh Allen has still found a way to make the Bills not even relevant, a legit Super Bowl contender. I'm not going to pick them, but they're a contender. And that means a lot to me, an MVP in the MVP discussion. That's why I go with him.
James Cook, I'll say too, and this isn't to be like, hey, you're wrong. He has been outstanding for Buffalo.
Yeah.
Like, that dude has 15 touchdowns. He's going to have 1,000 yards within the first quarter on Sunday, assuming he plays a little bit. The receiving core, I think we all saw Stephon Diggs fall off last year, but when Dalton Kincaid and then the aforementioned James Cook are the Bills' second and third leading receivers, like, to your point, yeah, the weapons aren't there. And they traded for Amari Cooper, and they drafted Keon Coleman, and those guys haven't been there all season. But, yeah, absolutely, Allen has the better backs, Lamar Jackson has better backs and tight ends. I just think in the whole picture, he's played better. I think it will go to Josh Allen. I'm not going to be upset about it. But when you think about how this award historically has been awarded, best statistical season, best player, that's who it goes to. And to me, that's Lamar. But I think it will go to Josh, and he's been outstanding. And this award was going to come for him at some point in his career. So with guys like that, go ahead.
I probably know your answer, but I just want confirmation. Right now, Kansas City, the number 1 seed, who is the biggest threat to knock them off in the AFC?
I think it is Buffalo.
Really?
Because I don't trust that Ravens defense. And we just talked about it. Bills have a slightly better, pick your measurement, defense in Baltimore.
They've had games where they've given up a lot of points.
Yeah. But I just look at, the way they've matched up in the past. All of these games with Buffalo have been close for Kansas City.
Yep.
And Kansas City's offense, as we know, is not what it once was. So their biggest obstacle is facing a fellow good defensive team. And I think between those two, and the quarterbacks are close enough between Lamar and Josh. Again, not knocking Josh and just splitting hairs here for MVP. I go with the team with the better defense and that has confidence going in there that they can win.
If the Bills or any team can get a lead on Kansas City, I think it'll be harder for them. They're not going to. They obviously have come from behind a bunch in this season, but I'm talking about like a real lead, double digits, second half, things like that. It's a different Chiefs team. With that being said, they're still the favorite to me. I think they're the most balanced team. They've got a winner. They know how to win as a collective group, coaching, defense, all of the above. Can Baltimore, who I think is most equipped, can they, between Henry and Jackson, have enough to get them over the hump? Because they have had, I'm not going to say Kansas City owns them, but it's pretty close.
Well, can they also just run the ball? You remember the AFC Championship game last year?
Yeah.
Everyone's screaming. Matthew McConaughey and Interstellar from the other side of the screen. Run the ball.
Yeah.
Come on. That Chiefs defense was atrocious for stretches most of the year against the run last year. And the Ravens just never tested them at home, doorstep from the Super Bowl. But this conversation sounds like you're picking the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. Because they're just, I got to see somebody beat them.
NFC?
The Lions.
Man.
Yeah.
So you think they win this Sunday home field advantage and just take it all the way there?
I'm worried about the injuries. And maybe this is with my heart a little bit. Philly might be more well-equipped. I like Green Bay. I just feel like what they've gone through in that division has hardened them, and that's going to be a team that I think finds a way to get it done and get through. They've been there. They're going to get it done.
Right now, and I'm not rooting for this because I'd like to change this up a bit. I think Philly gets there because I think they can meet Detroit's offensive line. They can meet them in the trenches on both sides of the ball. They're healthier. Their defense has been outstanding the second half of the year. I'm still not discounting Minnesota. I know you've got them not. You didn't call them frauds, but you're just not bought in.
Not fraud. They're not frauds. You can't say that. But I don't believe in terms of a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
you could be a good team, not frauds, but not be quite equipped to go to it and win a Super Bowl. I'm not believing in them, and I got to see it. Nick is in Walpole on Gerard Mayo. Hey, Nick.
Hi, guys. Thank you for taking the call. Good show. Listen, if you could imagine for a second that Gerard Mayo, you didn't know anything about him or his background, you had no context, maybe he was on another team, and we just don't follow them as closely, and you didn't know it was his first time or you didn't know he used to play for the team or any of that stuff, and you're just grading him based on this year and things go the way they did, how would you grade his performance? Would you have him back or not?
His performance would be an F. There would be an absolute F.
Okay. Now imagine that I told you, oh, it's his first time, and he's a nice guy, and he connects well with the players. Should that or should that not influence your decision in bringing him back?
Well, look, I don't think any of us are arguing because he's nice to the media or he connects with his players. And look, relationship development is important with the modern player. Factors in. The fact that he only has 5 years of coaching experience, yes, should factor in, because that would indicate more than a guy who's been in the business for 20 years. He's got room for growth. The question is, if you're the Crafts, or maybe you calling, do you want to bet on that potential and growth? Because I've argued I don't really want to bet on that potential right now if Mike Vrabel is available, because I know what he is.
Yeah, I would even go a step further than you. I would say I wouldn't care if it's his first stint or his fifth stint. The fact that he did not perform, like, it's a results-based business, and I don't care what his experience is. That's not my problem as a fan that he doesn't necessarily experience. Like you said, like, why should I want to take this gamble and wonder if he's going to do well or not? So I definitely agree with you guys, and I hope we don't bring him back next year. So thank you for taking the call.
Well, he agrees with you, Andrew, more than me, because I'm a little – and maybe this is my problem, but I'm a little leery of being one of those teams that ends up – as you fire the coach after 1 year. I just feel like it's like being a steroid guy. Like, once you're a steroid guy, you're kind of always a steroid guy.
I like that. Yeah, the Panthers.
Right.
That's what I said. This is a no-win situation for the Crafts. And again, this Vrabel thing that I brought up, written about. Might be a pipe dream. I don't know. He's going to have a lot of options. Okay, we know he's fond of New England. Played here.
Sure.
But it's the experience after that made him the coach that he is. A really good coach. I would argue top 10. If he's off the table, then I think, not because of the reasons necessarily you cite, but I think you take those into consideration, that you should bring Gerard back and Alex Van Pelt. But even then, you're going to have difficulty getting the stink off of this season and fixing the problems that are here because they're fundamental. They're elemental that are hard to uproot. You're still then betting on some upside and some development, and that's where they're at. It doesn't. There's a no-win situation. Hiring people into a bad situation, starting over and going back to square one with a new regime, it's no good, and that's on ownership.
And I can't stress it enough. If you bring him back, you have to factor in next season. It's not good enough to say, yeah, it was bad, but we're bringing him back. And okay, that's good. We hope for the best. No, if it goes poorly early next year, that is another fire that you're going to have to deal with, and you need to be prepared.
He should be on the hot seat. He should be on the hot seat.
Yeah.
And they have all this cap space. You're looking at T. Higgins. You're looking at Ronnie Stanley. You talk about left tackles from the Ravens will be available, possibly the number one pick, whatever you can flip that into. Assets galore. The roster will be better. You should be pushing, if not around 500 for sure.
And this it goes back to, I know we haven't talked about this. This goes back to why I wanted Drake May to start this season. It wasn't so much I wanted the new toy in there and the shiny thing and that they could play with him. I wanted to see him in there because I did not think Jacoby Brissett, based on what they had, offered the level of infrastructure to keep Drake May on the bench. So I did not think the Patriots were prepared in the event that Jacoby Brissett didn't play that well or couldn't hold off Drake May. And then what do? They ended up putting May in. I wouldn't have done that. I would have just used May. I would have made May the starter. I would have given him all the reps in the summer, made him number 1A, given him every opportunity to develop before the season, and then started him instead of just putting him in there in week 5. But that's what they did. So I didn't think they were prepared for the event that, hey, Jacoby Brissett's not good enough to hold off Drake May or to, just hold off the noise about getting that quarterback that they chose out of there and putting in the rookie. And he wasn't. And they had to deal with it on the fly. I'm worried about that this time around because of the coaching ineptitude that we saw at the end of this year. You have to be prepared if it doesn't work early next year. And I think the only way to do that is to fire some offensive the coordinators to give him some breathing room. 617-779-0985. We're going to get a headlines. When we get back, 2 stats and a lie. Looking forward to this. Headlines right back. Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan, Toucher and Hardy.
Woo! From the Towns Fair Tire Studios, the Patriots.
Into the end zone!
Here.
Touchdown for the Patriots!
WBC FM and HD Boston 98.5, the Sports Hub, a Beasley Media Group station. Sports Hub headlines.
Gerard Mayo, speaking with the media on Monday, said that everything is on the table regarding playing time in the season finale against the Bills, which will be at 1 o'clock on Sunday at Gillette Stadium. With the loss, the Patriots will lock up the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft this April. As for the Bills, Josh Allen will reportedly start the game just to keep his consecutive start streak alive and then be removed from the game soon thereafter. Last night on Monday Night Football, the Lions outlasted the 49ers. 40-34 was the final. 3 touchdown passes for Jared Goff. Detroit will be the number 1 seed in the NFC with a win Sunday against the Vikings. Bruins, they'll be in Washington to face the Capitals this afternoon. Puck drop 12:30 for that one. Later in the afternoon, Celtics on the floor at TD Garden to host the Toronto Raptors. It'll be a 3 o'clock tip. Celtics just 7-6 in December. You can hear that game, both games, on 98.5, the Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by DN Van Lines. Take the chance out of your move and make the sure bet with DN Van Lines, an approved mover of the Department of Defense. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports. 98.5 the Sports Hub. Next update, 9:30.
When sports news breaks in Boston.
Officially from the Boston Bruins.
It breaks here.
Boston Bruins general manager Don Sweeney announced today, November 19th, the team has relieved Jim Montgomery of his duties as head coach.
For the latest updates.
Associate coach Joe Sacco will assume interim head coaching duties.
And the analysis.
To me, this isn't enough. I think they got to shake up the locker room.
Stay right here.
We'll see how this goes.
Boston's home for breaking sports news. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
It's called rising and grinding.
Start your
Got your finger on the pulse, Fred. Seldom right and never wrong.
Right here. Is that Toucher or is that Hardy?
I know, looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
Which brings me, though, to my 2 stats and a lie.
2 stats and a lie.
2 of these stats are obviously the truth. One is a lie. some imaging with this. It would be fun.
I'm so in on this. The music, outstanding. The hype, outstanding. 2 stats and a lie with Andrew Callahan here on Toucher and Hardy.
We'll say
How does it work?
I reached out to Wallach for this season-long running bit that I brought to them. It's been a lot of fun. I said, Wallach, you're 2-13. Let's get you an extra win. Call into your own show. Take a second off of vacation. We'll get you on the board. At least take another shot. I said, probably not. So,
okay.
For the folks at home, this is how it works. I present 3 stats. 2 of them are true. 1 I've made up. Usually on Tuesdays when I'm in from 8 to 9, it is up to the guys to figure out which of those stats was the lie. 2 stats and a lie. Here so far are the standings. Fred is 6-8. Hardy 6-9. Wallach 2-13. Add all those up, and I have fooled them 30 times, and they have gotten me 14.
Wow.
So we're going to play with you, Mark Dondero. Welcome to 2 Stats and a Lie. Ryan Beaton back behind the glass.
Yeah, I'll be a nice little guest picker today.
Okay.
Yeah, you've had to watch. The last couple of weeks, though, the best part about this game has been Fred imploding mentally. He will think out, suss out the lie, and then pick another answer. And none of us know why. He just talks himself out of it. And tell me if I'm wrong, Ryan. That has become the most suspenseful thing. Will Fred land on his initial thought, or will he go for a scenic drive that leads him back to nowhere?
Yeah, there's an overthinking aspect to this a little bit. So.
But he got it right last week. We brought Fred back. Can we get one more? Because Nick just did so much good work on this for the receiving yards than Javon Baker.
Active Patriots offensive lineman.
Patriots offensive lineman on the team right now on the active roster. Number 3. Drake May owns the longest scramble by a white quarterback this season in the NFL. Drake May owns the longest scramble or rush by a white quarterback this season in the NFL. So we have Mark is going to guess. Ryan from behind the glass. I don't know who wants to go first or suss this out, overthink, do what you will. It's strange being in the driver's seat of my own game. Normally I just sit quietly for 4 minutes and the guys go back and forth.
So what do we do? We just talk it out?
Yeah. You don't have to agree.
Okay, so I was going to say for the Chiefs, it's 3 years, right? The win total for 3 past years.
Chiefs have as many wins this season as the Patriots do over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I know the last 2 years have been bad, but I feel like 3 years ago might throw that off a little bit. I think the first one's looking a little sus to me immediately. But
a little sus, as the kids say.
Oh, boy. I want to say Daniel Jones has a longer run. I feel like that. I don't want to go. I'm going to say the active players, the linemen. There is a lineman, 2 linemen that have more receiving yards than Javon Baker. I'm going to say yes to that's true. I'm going to say the lie is that Drake May owns the longest scramble for a white quarterback. That's the lie. That's my answer.
Ryan?
I am going to go with the first one, even though I can't do quick math in my head, but it just seems like it would be the lie. I definitely feel like number 2 might be correct, just because, who is it, Polk?
Javon Baker.
Or Baker. Oh, yeah, because Baker's done nothing, so.
Well, I know Hardy normally hits the button. Do we have a drum roll back there?
Yeah. Let's hit a drum roll.
So 2 stats and a lie. Holiday edition. This does not count towards the official standings, but it counts as far as the standings for this show. Mark Dondero and Ryan Beaton. 2 stats, 1 lie. Mark, you are 1-0, my friend.
Let's go! I did not want to blow that. That was my, a rare chance for me. That's huge.
Oh, I love it.
There you go, Fred. Where's he at? Woo!
No, where's Wallach at?
I love
Manhattan. It's just tough.
Who has the who has the longer run?
So Joe Burrow, believe it or
Burrow.
not, has a 47-yard scramble, the longest by a white quarterback this year. Hat tip to Joe Cool.
Wow.
So number 3 was the lie. Drake May does not have the longest run by a white quarterback in the NFL this season. The 2 Patriots offensive linemen with more receiving yards than Javon Baker, who has a big fat 0.0. Badarian Lowe, who caught a touchdown pass earlier this year.
That's right.
And this is, Hardy would hate this. A little technicality, but it's true. Look at the stats, Pro Football Reference. Cole Strange, 3 receiving yards on the pitch last year that Mike Gesicki gave him at the end of that Miami game, Sunday Night Football. So when you look, this is a statistical oddity, but it's true. 0 catches for Cole Strange, 3 receiving yards. And then number 1, the Chiefs have 15 wins this year. They're 15-1.
Yep.
Patriots 3 wins this year, plus 4 last year, plus 8 the year before. 15 versus 15.
Yeah, I think I had that.
Come on, girl.
Loved it. Let's go. That's a. I got to be listening every Tuesday now.
It's fun, man.
Yeah.
It's I was just brought the bid in week 1, and we've been rolling ever since. It's
Andrew's got 2 sets.
It's the last edition next week, Ryan.
What'd you say?
It's the last one next week.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's flew by.
We're going to go big, though. And Wallach, I don't know if he's going to pay off the punishment next week for being last in the standings, but that's coming soon, too.
He's gotten one, right? Yeah, he's.
Do we know what the payoff is?
No, it's up to Fred and Hardy.
Okay.
I suggested, and I threw myself in here, too, right? Because if you were just guessing, you should get at least 33% just based on luck, right? And by definition, I should be right 66% of the time. So my argument was, if I do worse than that, which right now it's close, I should have to get punished too. My idea was, and this might be what Wallach has to do, recreate the Bill Belichick and girlfriend pose on Halloween on the beach. Wallach the mermaid, and then we could have Fred in the fisherman costume. We get a picture, splash it over social, a little bit of YouTube.
I think that's a great idea.
I thought it was too. They were lukewarm at best when I pitched it live on the air, but when we talked off air, there was a little bit more enthusiasm. So we'll see. It's not up to me. It's up to Fred. It's up to Hardy. This is their show. And Wallach, my man, I tried to help you get win number 3. Would not have cheated. Certainly anything like that. But the standings: Fred 6-8, Hardy 6-9, Wallach 2-13. I am at 30-14. Now 31-15 if we include this round, which is a lot of fun.
Woo! All right. Thank you for that. That's a huge conversion by me. You say that. 617-779-0985.
Oh, we have an answer to what Tom Brady's doing at the party, by the way, but that's going to come after the break.
Sounds good. We'll be back. We'll get that answer. More on the Patriots and other thoughts. Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Come on, girl.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Sports Hub app with you so you can hear more of Todger and Hardy
That's what I want on my tombstone.
on the Sports Hub.
Back here on Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan. I was hoping, for many reasons, excuse me, I was hoping that the Chiefs would not end up the 1 seed. For many reasons. But here we are, and as a result, Buffalo's locked into 2. They're not going to play. They're not going to be aggressive in playing guys this weekend, and it turns into a meaningless game for the Patriots, which I'm not for, especially now that they have the number 1 overall pick. I wouldn't play Drake May. That's just me. I think they should let him get. I just don't see any positive. I don't want to do it. I don't want to play that game, and I would let him sit, and I would just go into the offseason healthy. That would be my plan for Drake May.
Yeah, here's the thing. You can chase a win, and all the players in the field are going to do exactly that. But if you're the coaching staff, if you're the front office, you know that if you lose, you have the number 1 overall pick. That's the reality of the situation. That number 1 overall pick, because of what it could become via trade, or if you want to stick and pick and take Travis Hunter, the best player in the draft, you never get to do this. Haven't done it since Drew Bledsoe, is worth way more than putting another W on a lost season. Like, nothing is going to be turned around playing the Bills' backups. And you bring up a point about Drake May's health. I think it's totally legitimate. Now, he's a young kid, needs development, needs reps. I don't think the Bills are going to have this exotic game plan, stuff that they might run in the playoffs and then put it on tape. They already withheld stuff on offense in their first meeting when they didn't take you seriously, and that's largely how you got to keep it close after a good first half. So I would start Joe Milton. They've already laid the foundation, the expectation. Hey, we're going to play young guys. The season's about winning and development, not just winning. This is a development game. Lock up the number 1 overall pick.
This hour of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. It feels simple to me, and it's just, I mean, look, it's going to make for a very interesting offseason. There are a lot of ways the Patriots could go, especially if they do secure the number 1 overall pick. The question is, even if they trade down, are they going to be able to convert on the draft capital that they receive? Are they going to be able to convert on the picks? And I'll be honest, I mean, you know this, it just doesn't inspire a lot of confidence based on what we saw this year and what we saw in 2024 in the draft. Why should I trust them to move down and to draft well? Why? Is there any reason, anything I can look towards based on what we've seen that would give me hope?
So let me zoom out for a second. If you're trying to win some money on a scratch ticket, your goal is to win, to hit, like on a draft pick.
Right.
How many scratch tickets do you buy?
I mean,
the goal is just to win. You want to hit on one.
I would buy a lot of scratch tickets if I was going to hit on one.
So,
yeah,
if the goal is to hit on a draft pick, right, and there is no real evidence that there are guys who do this at a 50% success rate. Like, success in the NFL and draft picks is around, 33%. A couple of guys every single year. Starters or better, okay? You have a better chance of hitting multiple starters if you have more picks. You get more picks if you have that number 1 overall selection. It's the most valuable in the entire draft, especially if and when you get teams bidding, like the Giants and the Titans and the Browns and the Raiders, to come up in a bidding war to get that pick. Now, to your point about, am I confident in these guys? I don't have a lot of evidence to say you should be. But my point is, they are not so far, if you want to allege this, and I would not, because I need more time to see what Elliott Wolf does with a roster, when the point is to win and build a better roster. That they're not so far, even if you think they stink, from the rest of the league, that you should just clean house and give it to someone else. Because A, then you're back at square one, and B, the draft is a crapshoot. Like, Drake May was the 3rd quarterback taken, and Jaden Daniels has been great. But we do this every year. We get so certain the closer that we get to April, and then football hits, and it's like, you know nothing. Because it's projecting human beings who are in their early 20s, how they're going to act in their careers in the most violent unpredictable sport we have, which is why we love it. Like, there's no sure thing. The only sure thing is more picks gives you a better chance.
And that's true. But my take is, I just want to, I want to make sure they give themselves the best chance at hitting at something. And if that means, okay, we're going to draft the guy that's the sure thing. And I think we're both in agreement. We don't want them to go down too far. They're not going to go down too far in the first round. If they trade back, it'll be still within the top 10, obviously. So they can still get their guy, hopefully. But I don't want them to think Okay, we just need assets. We need as many and then pass on a guy that you think would be a player if you like that player. Draft him. Get on the board. Get a good draft pick. I know they got Drake May. That was a good first-round pick. Do it again at a different position and try to clean up what you haven't been able to do in recent years.
Yeah, for example, like last year, the Jalen Polk pick, Ladd McConkey was there. I personally, and this is, if you hired me as a GM, first of all, I would have signed DeAndre Hopkins, and I'm not drafting to kill Harry. People think like, oh, the media ran Bill out of town. You know what we would have done first? We would have signed some receivers. That's what we would have done, okay? I also would do a lot of dumb crap because I don't know as much as these guys in the front offices, and you miss a whole lot. But to the point of just sticking and picking, adding good players like you're suggesting, great idea. I would have taken Ladd McConkey. And it's surprising because they obviously didn't feel that way for reasons currently unknown. But the philosophy that Elliott Wolf comes from, Green Bay, okay, is more of a, how good are the guys? How talented are they? We want to just take the best players. And it sounds like a simple thing that everyone abides by. No. The Patriots drafted for specific system fits with Belichick. How do you fit this role within my defense, within the offense? What is your role? It wasn't based on talent. So they will get there. I do think a trade back, so long as it's within the boundaries, the top 10 is a good idea. But that is their attitude now. Take the best players versus ones that fit us best. That's a change, and it's meaningful.
Okay, and that is meaningful. And if that's what they were doing, obviously it wasn't working at specific positions. Other positions they did have more success in. That is meaningful. The problem is it didn't work out in spades in the first year. So I just have trouble, and there's nothing. You talked about Dan Campbell, and you sort of clap back at some of the idea that, hey, this is the same thing. Dan Campbell was bad in his first year. Okay, the thing the Lions ended up doing was drafting well. They drafted well. The 49ers had drafted well. Lots of great drafting associated with those turnarounds. I still think, Andrew, the worst part of this year, the worst development, aside from all the Jerron Mayo things and all these missteps in the media, was the draft and seemingly not taking advantage of the position you had in the prior draft. That's the worst development this year. It's not going to turn around. You could have the best coach in the league, Drake May. If you can't draft, it's not going to turn around.
So the last sentence you said is absolutely true. All the best teams in the league draft well. That's it. Period. End of story. Now, as far as this year's draft class, yeah, right now it looks pretty bad. I would say two things. Number one, hitting on Drake May, which I think we can all agree they have, means more than the rest of the picks combined. This is like Danny Ainge hitting on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I don't care that he missed on Fab Melo. I don't care that those picks in the 10s and the teens and the 20s were missed. You had the most valuable assets, and you hit a home run. This is playing roulette and taking 80% of your chips and putting it in one spot, hitting there, but looking at the rest of the board and be like, well, you lost 10 other bets. It's like, I don't care. I hit on the 80% of my money. I'm making a lot more there. Now, you could say, well, Drake May was easy. Fine. Separate that. What I would argue is I still need another year or two from these guys because you want to go back to 2021. What did we think we knew about the Patriots draft? Mac Jones was really great. And if that's an argument you want to throw in my face, Drake May, it's a different conversation. I would disagree, but fine. Probably have something at Christian Barmore and Ramondre Stevenson. Fast forward 2 years later. Stevenson and Barmore are the guys getting second contracts from this team as foundational pieces. Mac Jones is gone. So to me, you need that time more than just after the rookie season, especially when Caden Wallace has been hurt, Layden Robinson's been in and out, and playing different positions. Because if those offensive linemen hit, we're talking very differently about this draft class. We just don't know yet.
That's a big question. And it's still, we don't know. You got to wait. There's years that have to go by before you can truly grade a draft class. But for now, it just hasn't worked. And this is a key year. They're going to have the number one pick, and they have had all this bad fortune in the draft going back many years. Okay? They have to get into a situation where they convert in some way, shape, or form. If it's not in the first round, it better be in multiple rounds after that.
Maybe in the sixth round. Greatest pick of all time, number 199, Tom Brady. We've taken a long time to figure out what he's doing at this party before we go to a break. I got to tell you.
You know it?
Yeah. The man's chugging beers.
Chugging beers.
That's right. Beers.
That's right.
At the best Boston sports New Year's Eve party you will find. This year, New Year's Eve does not suck. It's not underwhelming. It's not overrated. It's great because we're throwing this big bash at Wick Grosbeck's, which we'll recap a little bit later.
We got to run it back before we go.
But Tom, obviously he's there. He's too cool. He's a couple hours late. But the man is, I don't know if this is a clip or a Barstool thing. Guy parks himself at a tailgate, puts a sign, says, I bet I can chug beer faster than you. if you win, you get $10, or $50, and if I win, I get 10, whatever. Everyone takes the bet. Everyone loses to this guy. That would be Brady at the table, chugging beers, taking all challengers, and topping them all. The greatest of all time.
Winning everything. Tom in the Bay Area, speaking of Brady. Hey, Tom.
Yeah, hey, guys. I get that Travis Hunter's the best player in the draft, but you got to trade down, get more picks, still draft in the top 10 to get one of those linemen. That BYU game was a prime example. Travis Hunter looked great, but if your quarterback's running for his life because the offensive line is bad, you're not winning games. It is what it is.
I agree.
It's a tough thing. I still think you have a better chance. I still think I want them to have a guy that, the defense coordinators for other teams stay up at night worrying about. Like, you don't get that from a lineman. With that being said, he's right. If you don't have a line to protect, it's the ultimate team game. But I just think lineman is something they have had success developing more than receiver. And that's why I would want them to maybe take the receiver with that first.
Well, then
pick.
you can't run the ball. Like, you look at all the best running backs in the league.
Look what Stevenson's become.
Stevenson, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry in the opposite end of the Stevenson conversation. Like, Saquon Barkley just crossed 2,000 yards. We always knew he was great. But the production comes from having a great offensive line in front of you. Running the football comes down to how many defenders are in the box on the other side of the line of scrimmage and how well is your offensive line performing. Because the running back's going to find a hole. These are professional runners of the football. Okay? If your line can't protect or run block, as we've seen with the Patriots, you are, as they are, the only team in the league not to score more than 25 points this season. So you need to tighten up that offensive line for both passing and running.
617-779-0985. This hour of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. When we get back, we'll reset our party, recalibrate what's going on at the party, the New Year's Eve party here. Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Jerod Mayo speaking with the media Monday, saying that everything is on the table regarding playing time for the quarterbacks in the season finale against the Bills, which will be at 1 o'clock Sunday at Gillette Stadium. With a loss, the Patriots will lock up the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. As for the Bills, Josh Allen will reportedly start. He wants to keep his consecutive start streak alive, and then he'll be removed from the game soon thereafter. Last night, the Lions outlasted the 49ers on Monday Night Football. 40-34 was the final. 3 touchdowns for Jared Goff. Detroit will be the number 1 seed in the NFC with a win on Sunday against the Vikings. Bruins, they visit the Washington Capitals this afternoon with the puck drop set for 12:30. Celtics will be back on the court at TD Garden a little later in the afternoon when they host the Toronto Raptors. Celtics are now 7-6 in December, trying to get back on track here. Both games, Celtics and Bruins, you can hear on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by, wait for it, Nauset Marine. Visit them next week at the New England Boat Show or go to nausetmarine.com to view their inventory and learn more. Nauset Marine, keeping families afloat since 1961. I'm Mark Dondero for Boston's Home for Sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Next update, 30 minutes.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Electrical contractors save time and money by...
talk sports, we want to talk sports.
Squeeze the chicken and open the mouth.
It's like we were meant for each other.
This is why you need us.
98.5, the Sports Hub.
Is elongating.
Weekday morning.
Here goes Hardy.
Toucher and Hardy.
I no longer love things.
Let's go. Let's ride.
98.5.
Let's roll the dice.
The Sports Hub.
Shut up, people. To DD. Tom Brady, we finally just decided. It only took us 3.5 hours to decide on the GOAT. Is going to be chugging beers, challenging anyone who dares step up and take down. What I can do the whole list, but what are your favorites here so far that we've bounced around?
I like Kevin Garnett being the bartender.
It's a good one from Sarah. Big Jeff Fry fan, Sarah.
The Jeff Fry.
We went an hour without mentioning Jeff Fry. Good on us.
Figuring out what Jeff Fry was in fact going to be invited was a good one. I like I said, I'm interested. I like the idea of the nice guys playing the card game in the corner, and Rob Gronkowski doing his thing.
Never have I ever.
Right.
I mean, that guy's fingers are going to be down as fast as possible. I feel like it doesn't matter where you bring them. Mine is Bob and Zoe.
What has he never done?
Broadcasting beer pong.
Yeah.
And we haven't decided even who's playing there in this part of the party tonight, which is just going to make New Year's just to take it to a whole new level. I don't envision them quite as like the Muppets, the two old guys up on the balcony.
Yeah.
But it's going to be something close. And Zoe is getting a celeb shot or two.
Yeah.
Some getting in there.
Zoe be lubed up. Bob, I'm sure he'd have great calls on the final cup when that goes down.
Bob's also going to sneaky bring some great craft beer. That man knows his beers.
Does he?
Oh, yeah. Big time.
One guy we haven't had I don't think we found a place for is David Ortiz.
It's true.
What's he doing? He's got to be there.
So you just asked if we're going to play a song. I could see David as a DJ. I could see him bringing shots around, appetizers, just like being himself, What I would love, though, is for him just to bust on Alex Rodriguez and Derek Jeter, because watching him bring up 0-4 in front of them on these national broadcasts, one of my favorite things. It's just when they're talking about the Yankees coming back from the 3-0 deficit against the Dodgers in the World Series this year, he's like, that's not going to happen. That's been done before. Do you remember? Right. You remember?
And he got a Red Sox jersey for Derek Jeter at one point, presented that to him on the set. That was great. Yeah, he doesn't care. I've been interested in karaoke. Some of the karaoke combinations are good. I feel like there's more to be had, more people that could get involved with that. But, Larry Bird, Bill Belichick,
karaoke. Pivoting to Sunday, because as fun as this party is going to be tonight, everyone's invited. Sunday could be just an absolute disaster optics-wise. And I say that more from a fascination standpoint. Obviously, I'm never rooting for the Patriots, never rooting against them. But when you consider that I think most fans are probably in agreement with us, don't win this football game. Play Joe Milton. Get the number 1 overall pick. It's in the best interest of the team. You could have fans cheering against the Patriots. You could have a half-empty stadium that is now emboldened to chant Fire Mayo as they did at the end of the last game. And he acknowledged, I heard those chants. You could have a loss to Mitch Trubisky, which would be celebrated in the end. But in the watching and experiencing of that is just going to be an absolutely miserable game. Now, maybe May plays. He said yesterday he feels fine, and they're moving forward, and maybe he does play, maybe they win. I don't know. But the potential there for this imperfect storm of misery in what's been a really difficult season and another 6-game losing streak has me intrigued.
I can't imagine it's worse than what we saw Saturday. I mean, fans filing out in the third quarter. You just mentioned the chanting, the hopelessness that was permeating throughout that stadium. It was just a sad scene on Saturday. Let's get Sean in Worcester here on the party. Hey, Sean.
Hi, Mark.
What's up?
Nothing. I just wanted to add on real quick to Tom's part of the party.
Yep.
If that's all right.
Yeah.
Just real simple. I do like the fact that he's going to be trying to drink everybody under the table, but it would be worth the price of admission to see him being let out of the party like he was let out of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers celebration parade. Yeah.
100%. And look, it's no secret Tom Brady is he's not. Especially earlier in his career, we heard the stories about the beer and the chugging. He's a fun time. I think when you break it down, he can find a way to have fun, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It just starts with alcohol.
Yeah, he just needs to be drunk.
It's in there.
That's
yeah.
fine.
But
you get him around
some
of these legends, and you get him around. He's a guy that, especially recently, he doesn't like to miss things. He likes to be a part of everything. He goes to the parties. He has a hand in a million businesses. He likes to be a part of different things. Single now, so he's ready to mingle. So there's a lot of things there that add up to him becoming one of the guys that.
To bring him back into this conversation about the number one pick, it's really interesting his role in Vegas, right? Like he's going to have a real say in the ear of Mark Davis as a minority owner over there as they look for a quarterback. He's surely going to be involved. If he's really sold on, let's say, Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders, the top two right now in the draft, that would help his old team, of course, the Patriots, and the bounty that if he convinces Mark Davis, I'm sure Mark Davis is telling Tom Telesco, the Raiders GM, do whatever it takes. Tom says this is the guy. And it's amazing how much that could swing back for the Patriots because not only do you have a bidding war, you have a bidding war for a team that right now is projected to pick 8th and offering multiple firsts. And I don't know if you want to do bold predictions now or before we get out of here, but I got to tell you, whether Brady makes that happen or the Patriots do this on their own, I think they're making multiple first-round picks in the 2025 NFL Draft.
It would be nice to encounter a scenario similar to Kevin McHale when he was in Minnesota. I mean, there's a lot of speculation that's what he did the Celtics a favor. If Brady could do that, if he went down to 7 or 8, sure. Why don't we'll make bold predictions part of the stack. Things we didn't get to. We'll do that when we get back. Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Right now, no team in the NFL has that. This would involve a trade back, maybe a trade back into the first round. We know they tried to do this last year.
Yeah.
But I think it was Keon Coleman was the reporting. And I think they make it happen. These are guys who would start right away as rookies. I'm looking at that in April. I'll give you two more, and you tell me which one you like the best. I think the Red Sox win a playoff series. So not only you get in, but I think the rotation they built, it's not only just now the high-end talent, which this is no guarantee, but between Crochet and Walker Buehler, those hit, you get a depth piece. Houck, whoever it is the number 3, okay? It's all you need to win a round. Like, this might be the deepest rotation in the AL, maybe all of baseball, though the Diamondbacks are going to want to have a say there. And I think the Celtics lose in the NBA Finals. And I'm not even that disappointed or concerned about the stretch lately. I think it's a doldrums in the NBA season. But Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown shooting 32, 33% from 3. The longer that goes, then that's the more worried I get. And I think OKC is too talented at the top, too deep, and Thunder get it done.
I love the Red Sox one. That's the one I was going to go with. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to go to the LCS. I think the Red Sox are going to be back, and they're going to find a way to the LCS. The other one, I'm with you, but I'll add something. The Celtics are going to lose in the playoffs. That's my bold prediction. However, I think Jason Tatum is going to ball out. I think he's going to be the best we've ever seen of him. I think he's going to be Jordan, and they're going to find a way to lose.
Jordan.
He's going to be awesome. Find a way to lose, and he's going to be so good. He's going to hit clutch shots. He's going to make unbelievable plays down the stretch of games, and somehow they're going to find a way to lose in the playoffs. Maybe it's injuries. Maybe they can't overcome. If Kristaps Porzingis isn't there, I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe they just can't win enough close games.
Can you be Jordan, though, if you lose? Like, isn't that the mythology around him?
I guess not.
Nothing. And it's not mythology, but you know what? I get what you're saying.
He's going to be as good as we've ever seen him. He'll take over. He'll be the MVP. If they win, he would have been MVP, but they're not going to win. I just think they're going to find a way. And there's other good teams. And again, like you said, it's not because of this stretch. I actually like the fact that they're having this stretch. They can't dominate all year through the last year into this year, all season long into the spring. They're going to have a dip, and then you learn from that, and you get your attention, and then you build it back. I like that they're actually doing this. And by the way, these are the dog days of the NBA season. You don't need to go balls out. You play in Orlando on Christmas Eve, and they're going, it's their Super Bowl. You don't need to do that. That's just not. Al Horford doesn't need to do that. You don't need to body up somebody that's going into the paint now. Conserve your energy. It's about the playoffs. It's about the spring. But I still think there could be a team, maybe OKC is the one that's out there that could be a little bit too much.
Any chance you think they lose short of the finals?
Before the finals?
Yeah. In the East playoffs?
Yes. I think there's a chance.
Wow.
I think there's a chance. I'm not going to bet on that.
I guess if we're doing like the Lloyd Christmas, so you're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah.
Yes, Lloyd, 1 in a million. Okay, by that definition, yes.
No, it's bigger than it's a better chance than that.
And I don't say this because you just brought up that loss, but whenever the Magic get Paolo Banchero back and you get Franz Wagner back, that's a team that doesn't care. That's a team that's going to be in your shirt. That's a team that now finally has a closer, and Paolo is playing as well as anybody in the NBA before he got hurt. What is going on with the obliques down in Orlando? 5 people know what I'm talking about. The point is, that's a team that would scare me as the Celtics. They're unafraid of you.
Yeah.
They're more physical. They've got the closer now. And granted, they don't have a ton of shooting. Maybe they add at the deadline. We'll see. But that team, I'm still not that afraid of the Cavs. They don't have anyone to guard the Jays. That's their biggest problem. It's great you can protect the rim. Mobley's taking a leave. Donovan Mitchell's a closer. But I would be shocked if they're stopped short of the finals.
I think it's just going to be something where they run into a team that's just so good, so hot, so hungry, and the threes might not fall. And then here's the thing. If they get into a situation where they're playing close games, I don't know. We didn't see that a lot. I mean, we did see them in close games. But if they find a way to lose a couple of those games and they're staying in close games night after night in the playoffs, then anything could happen. They could lose the series. So we'll see.
Let me put it to you like this.
Yeah.
2025 as we head into the new year. Bigger surprise next year. Patriots make the playoffs or Celtics lose before the East Finals. To you, what would be a bigger surprise?
Before the East Finals, that would be a bigger surprise.
So you're talking Phillies you're talking a 4-5 matchup, or if they get the 2-3 is what you're looking at. Cleveland's in there. Philly, as I mentioned, probably falling below. Milwaukee's making a charge, probably too old, not going to be healthy enough.
That'd be a big surprise if they lose before the East Final. I mean, they didn't even get
bigger than the
challenged
Pats making the
last
playoffs.
year. Yeah, because I believe in Drake May.
Yeah.
I believe in Drake May.
I'm with you.
Like, I think the Patriots, if May knows, if he uses the offseason healthy, if he uses it appropriately, they'll be where they want to be, at least knocking on the door. And then if you could bust it through, we've seen the turnarounds. They just need a draft. They need a draft class and spend. There's another resolution for you. Spend some money. Spend. Okay? I can't stop thinking about the karaoke at this party. I'd love to see Larry Bird singing karaoke at any party. Anywhere. KG too.
I'm glad we built this up, though. We had a lot of great calls and suggestions. Vince, running the barbecue outside with the grill. Mike Napoli, your wild card. It's a great call. Terry Francona's walking around. KG, bartender.
Can I just throw one more we haven't talked about? What about Edelman? He's there, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's got to be there.
You know what he's doing? He's with Matt Light, and they're just laying pranks. Like little traps, little booby traps all around the house at Wick's house.
See, I
just
see
getting
it more,
into trouble.
I see it more as
Little
Edelman,
bleep-eating grin on his face.
Edelman and Amendola on the dance floor. I think they're part of the dance scene, and they're out there.
A bit of both, yeah.
Both looking good. You know, they're all. You know, they got whatever. They got all dolled up for the night. They're dancing. They're grinding, and they're out there with Vince Wilfork, who's in overalls.
I love it. Now I'm actually a little sad that we built this up and this isn't going to happen. Because you're going to go home and you're debating another gummy this New Year's Eve. No
Definitely.
Cyndi Lauper?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to watch that. I mean, that freaked me out legitimately, and that was a bad night for me. But I'll try something else.
Well, I'll be sipping bourbon in a basement in Connecticut and then off to Foxborough tomorrow because it is a work day for us and the Patriots heading into what could be a sad Sunday. But we're not there yet.
Can't imagine it's going to be worse. Can't imagine. All right, Happy New Year, Andrew. Pleasure
Happy New Year,
to the
man.
show.
Fun show.
This is Toucher and Hardy, Mark Dondero, Andrew Callahan. Up next, it's Maddie McCarthy and Nick Cattles will take you into Bruins coverage. Mark Dondero, Andrew, Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Happy New Year.